was already her master. But he remembered that after taking her as a disciple, he had taken her to the old lady's house. Why did Yu Hong still keep this appearance? He was puzzled. He stepped forward, rubbed Yu Hong's head, and said gently, "Since you recognize me as your master, tell me, what exactly happened?" Tears glimmered in Yu Hong's eyes as she threw herself into Ling Xiao's arms, choking up, "Master, why did you abandon me in this strange and terrifying world just a few days after taking me as your disciple? It's so empty. Did I do something wrong? Tell me, master, don't leave me." Ling Xiao's heart tightened. He recalled that after taking her as a disciple, he was busy chasing the time-space dragon and was then swept away by the river of time without looking back. To Yu Hong, he seemed abandoned. Now Yu Hong was in a terrifying place, naturally scared and roaned. He gently patted Yu Hong's back and comforted her, "Don't be afraid, master didn't he abandon you. Now, I will take you home." Yu Hong finally stopped crying, weariness came over her, and soon she fell into a deep sleep. After comforting the young Yu Hong, Ling Xiao fell into thought how to awaken his soul. He originally thought Yu Hong would dream of those thrilling battle moments, the decisive battle with the beast tribe, the brink of life and death, the inner demons during cultivation. Unexpectedly, Yu Hong's deepest memory was their first meeting, and the greatest fear was being abandoned by him. Guilt surged in his heart. He had taken him as a disciple back then but failed to provide enough sense of security. This was the master's failure. It must be made up for in the future. But for now, the most important thing was to awaken Yu Hong. Ling Xiao originally intended to help Yu Hong break through the barrier of his inner demons, to awaken his soul and merge it with his body. But reality made it difficult for him to act. Yu Hong's pain was not a temporary obstacle but a panic caused by years of lacking security, his soul deeply trapped in loneliness and fear. He understood that the most effective way to heal such wounds was long-term companionship to fill the emptiness of the heart. But time did not allow it. If the soul stayed in the dream for too long, the body would inevitably suffer damage. Ling Xiao frowned deeply, looking at the sleeping Yu Hong, his heart heavy with worry. At this moment, Ling Bai and the little spirit guarding nearby were extremely anxious. The little spirit whispered, "When will master return? Entering someone else's illusion is extremely dangerous. There has been no news for half a day. Could something have happened?" Ling Bai's expression was calm. "Don't worry, master's strength is beyond imagination. Though we don't know what he has been through, every time he appears, he resolves difficulties one by one and always brings surprises. This time, master will definitely succeed too." Though he said this, his brows were tightly furrowed, unable to hide his anxiety. Time passed bit by bit both in reality and in the dream. They waited for the final outcome. Inside the dream, time flowed much faster than outside. In the blink of an eye, Yu Hong opened his eyes. Ling Xiao looked up, his smile warm. "Good disciple, where do you want to go today?" "Master promises to fulfill all your wishes." The little girl's eyes brightened, smiling as she asked, "Really?" Ling Bai nodded firmly, "Of course. Whatever you want to do, master can help you achieve it." Yu Hong smiled gently, a hint of hesitation in his eyes. "I trust master, but master is so powerful and has so many things to do. I'm afraid of delaying master's important matters." After speaking, he lowered his head, seeming to feel unworthy of having such a master. Ling Xiao saw through his thoughts at a glance, patted his head, and said in a gentle but firm tone, "Don't overthink it. You will always be the one I love most. Whatever you want to do, just say it." The problem had no clear direction yet. Following Yu Hong's thoughts might be better. There was actually nothing fun outside. The strange thing was that this world was empty apart from them, no one else could be found. Ling Xiao led Yu Hong toward a place that was more prosperous in his memory, wanting to explore the situation there. Except for the absence of people, the environment was still bright and bustling, sunlight flooding the streets, much livelier than the previous place. Yu Hong excitedly pulled Ling Xiao toward the unattended stalls, carefully examining the unfamiliar items, her eyes full of anticipation. Ling Xiao did not stop her and bought every item. Although no one was watching, he still placed the money on the stalls. No one knew the operating mechanism of this illusion array. A zero-cost purchase might be fine, but if it triggered some chain reaction, the consequences would be unpredictable. Since they were in this world, they had to follow its rules. After playing for a long time, Yu Hong was not tired at all, like a child in a dream. Ling Xiao sensed something unusual. Time seemed to have stopped. The sun hung motionless in the sky, and the sunlight remained unchanged. Perhaps it was not that people had disappeared here, but that time and space were frozen. Yu Hong was trapped here, which explained the strange scene. He summoned the elements of time and space to test this restriction. The power was released but fell into the void, with no response. This restriction was beyond his ability to break, limited by Yu Hong's impressions and cognition. Perhaps Yu Hong had experienced such a scene before, deeply embedded in his memory, and his soul still dreamed of it trapped in this frozen era. Ling Xiao clenched his fist, patted Yu Hong's head, and silently vowed, this time, he would protect him well. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, stirring hair and fluttering clothes. The wind was light but strangely abnormal. Time and space were frozen. Where could the wind be coming from? Ling Xiao became alert and followed the wind's direction. He discovered a hidden loophole connecting this world to the outside. This loophole was the only hope to break the restriction. Perhaps Yu Hong had escaped back then by relying on this loophole, which was why he retained memories. Ling Xiao looked at the crack with a pang of sorrow. At that time, Yu Hong was still a child and had not learned much. How could he have discovered such a hidden loophole on his own? His gaze returned to Yu Hong, and Ling Xiao silently vowed he would never let him fall into an unsolvable predicament again. Sensing the anomaly, Ling Xiao pulled Yu Hong and ran toward the loophole, wanting to find out the truth. Yu Hong was still immersed in joy but was suddenly pulled away by his master. He was obedient and followed without hesitation. The two quickly reached their destination. Yu Hong was still excited, although she didn't understand what was happening. Her heart was full of anticipation. Ling Xiao soared into the sky, flying alongside his master, overlooking the surroundings. The perspective was novel and thrilling, as if a new world's door had been opened. Yu Hong shouted excitedly, "This is so much fun!" Ling Xiao's gaze was sharp, alert to his surroundings. He had thought 777 had found a clue, but upon arrival, he found nothing but emptiness, as if the target didn't exist at all. The energy source was clearly exposed, yet it seemed hidden in the void. He furrowed his brows, puzzled. This thing was far more complicated than he had imagined. He warned Yu Hong, "Don't move around, it's extremely dangerous there." Yu Hong immediately restrained her movements and quietly observed the surroundings, trying to catch any trace of danger. But obviously, he couldn't detect anything unusual. Ling Xiao investigated again and found the energy source suddenly shifted. He instantly released teleportation, moving so fast that his shadow was almost invisible. Upon reaching the new location, it was still empty. The clear sensation he had before had completely vanished. His heartbeat suddenly quickened. Ling Xiao understood that this challenge was far beyond expectations. He quickly summoned the system, which immediately responded. Ding target located in the southeast direction, 400 million light-years away. Ding target is moving southwest, expected to enter the northwest corner within 500 million light-years. A ruthless glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. The system not only provided distance and direction but also predicted the target's movements, instantly increasing the success rate several-fold. Without hesitation, he sped off in the direction indicated by the system. Upon arrival, there was still nothing in sight. The system prompted again, Ding target located in the southeast direction, 400 million light-years away. He immediately teleported over. Teleportation exerted a tremendous impact on the body. Yu Hong could not endure multiple uses and remained at the original spot waiting quietly. Although Ling Xiao was worried, he knew Yu Hong was capable of self-protection. He had to resolve the current crisis as soon as possible. He kept teleporting, tracking that mysterious source, ready to trap it instantly with spatial spiritual power once he got close. The feeling of proximity grew stronger. The target's escape speed was far slower than his pursuit. After several rounds of teleportation, just as he was about to catch the target, an unexpected event occurred. He sensed the target rushing straight toward Yu Hong's side. His heart tightened sharply as he rushed over, but it was already too late. A vortex suddenly formed, rapidly expanding to 2 zhang high, instantly engulfing Yu Hong. The entire process took less than half a second. Yu Hong didn't even have time to dodge, leaving only a piercing scream echoing in the air. Ling Xiao's mind was shaken, fury burning within him. Without hesitation, he leapt into the vortex, determined to save Yu Hong. Inside the vortex, it was pitch black. Yu Hong's trace was nowhere to be found. Burning with anxiety, Ling Xiao hated himself for failing to protect. He calmed down and activated all his spiritual senses to search, but it was like a stone ox entering the sea, no response at all. In the darkness, it felt as if countless eyes were watching him, yet there was no concrete evidence. Here, it was both void and reality. Ling Xiao felt boundless loneliness and an unknown danger. For the first time, Ling Xiao experienced such contradictory emotions, but his instinctive alertness prevented him from relaxing. Although spiritual senses were the most real feedback, instincts were never aimless. The most urgent task was to find Yu Hong's location. His spiritual senses swept through, but the space was blank indeed. Yu Hong was not here. There were two possibilities: either Yu Hong was truly not here, or spiritual senses were ineffective in this place. This also meant that those gazes he sensed existed, but were hidden in the darkness. Blindly charging forward was tantamount to seeking death, but he had no other choice. Ling Xiao quickly condensed a powerful barrier on his body, fusing time and space elements, and began a cautious search. He tried to illuminate with a glowing object but found the light was confined to his palm, unable to penetrate the darkness. He couldn't see clearly even 3 centimeters away, rendering it useless. He had to rely on touch, hearing, and smell to perceive his surroundings, but the information was fragmented, making him even more anxious. He groped back and forth. The endless space seemed to swallow his sense of direction, and he grew increasingly lost. If this continued, he might never find the exit and be trapped in endless darkness. Ling Xiao suppressed his inner demons and calmly contemplated a way to break the deadlock. He recalled his causal line, a mysterious bond that could be sensed without sight. The causal connection between him and Yu Hong could not be weak. By following the causal line, he would surely be able to pinpoint Yu Hong's whereabouts. The path he had taken would also leave causal traces, making tracking relatively smooth. But if he returned the same way, he feared falling again into the dead silence of a universe where time and space were stagnant. If he could use this opportunity to bring Yu Hong directly back to that era of freedom and unrestrained existence, wouldn't that be wonderful? He focused intently on sensing the causal line on his body but still failed to detect Yu Hong's aura. Unwilling to give up, Ling Xiao probed the causal line between himself and the exit, discovering that although faint, it truly existed. This meant that causal forces still operated in this space, but the barrier on Yu Hong's body made the causal line difficult to penetrate. He continued to gather strength and suddenly felt a blockage sever the causal line like it was cut by some invisible sharp blade. This puzzled Ling Xiao greatly. Previously, he had passed through spatial barriers without obstruction. Causal lines could penetrate most obstacles, and even barriers he formed with spatial power could be easily broken. Now, the appearance of an impenetrable barrier could only mean that Yu Hong had left this world, perhaps returning to normal space. Thinking this, he felt somewhat relieved. But at the same time, he was alert. Yu Hong was very likely trapped in another space, where dangers were unknown and unpredictable. No matter what, Ling Xiao had to find Yu Hong as soon as possible. Although the causal line did not directly indicate Yu Hong's location, it pointed the way forward. Following the causal line, he discovered a barrier between 2 spaces. Once this barrier was broken through, he could reach another world. Without hesitation, he sped forward along the causal line, even beginning to use teleportation. This was not only for speed but also because this space was fraught with danger. Moving openly might alert hidden enemies. Therefore, he chose to minimize exposure time, crossing the darkness quickly and stealthily. After 2 or 3 teleports, he finally arrived at his destination. His teleportation is usually unrestricted, but within 20 billion light-years, it can only be used once. This time he used it 2 or 3 times, and the distance was by no means short. The strangeness and the illusion had numbed him. This place is like a dream, anything could happen, so don't make a fuss. Focusing on the main task is the key. Upon reaching the barrier, he reached out to touch it, cold and unresponsive. But the causal line breaks here, leading to another world at 4.8. Here lies a spatial barrier that others cannot touch. He awakened the spatial element within his body, resonated with the barrier, and instantly connected. The spatial element shares the same origin as him, either extracted from him or from Ling Bai, both woven by the Yu Hong dreamscape. Resonance occurred, making him a half-master of this spatial barrier, easily penetrating it and stepping into another world. The light before his eyes shone brightly, not dazzling, but it awakened his long-dormant visual nerves in the darkness. In the blink of an eye, he recognized the magnificent scene before him, seemingly familiar: the Wind God Hall from when Yu Hong and Ling Bai were the 15th Realm Kings. Could this illusion actually be impressions of Yu Hong from different time periods? Scanning the hall, Yu Hong sat upright on the throne, with Ling Bai's seat empty beside her, because Ling Bai was not currently in the illusion. He locked eyes with Yu Hong, who showed unfamiliarity and confusion. After a few seconds, she reacted and shouted, "Master, why have you returned? Master, you don't know how much I've missed you since you left. Why did you suddenly leave without a word?" Hearing this, Ling Xiao felt a pang in his heart. The Yu Hong before him had forgotten what was seen in the illusion, returning to the present Yu Hong, shedding her cold mask to reveal the purest little girl's face. Ling Xiao comforted her. "Didn't Master say? It's just the river of time sweeping you away, not that he wanted to abandon you. Don't be afraid. Every time Master appears, he will find you first and will never forget." Yu Hong nodded but still looked dazed, her eyes hollow. Ling Xiao sensed something was wrong and asked, "How is your cultivation of the spatial element going?" Yu Hong looked up and answered, "Master taught me, and I have made progress." "Thank you, Master, otherwise I would still be wandering." "No, if you hadn't cultivated, you might have died long ago." Before the words fell, a flash of alertness crossed Ling Xiao's eyes. He struck with a palm, and Yu Hong turned to flying ashes and vanished. Yu Hong has never cultivated the space element and does not possess this hidden attribute. Ling Xiao did not teach it back then because he lacked the talent and it was difficult to learn. If Ling Bai had taught him, he should not have achieved anything by now. Obviously, this Yu Hong is different. His dull reaction is more like an energy illusion, with low imitation accuracy and low intelligence. Having not seen him for many years, Ling Xiao's memory of Yu Hong's details is insufficient, which is why he was slow to notice the anomaly, relying on the skills he had taught to distinguish authenticity. He shook his head and looked around. The world had not collapsed. With a casual strike, a nearby palace pillar collapsed with a rumble. Stepping outside, the scene remained unchanged. The collapsed buildings turned to rubble and dust but did not disappear. This world truly exists, and Yu Hong is indeed here. Ding, but it is not the person from before. Since stepping into this realm, Ling Xiao's cognition has been constantly updated. Old concepts cannot be directly applied. Every step in this world surpasses Ling Xiao's imagination, demonstrating how completely different it is from other places. A doubt arose in his heart. If he was not mistaken, this place was actually an illusion constructed based on Yu Hong's cognition. The bizarre and strange scenes completely exceeded his expectations. The reason is simple: Yu Hong is here, while his own soul is sleeping too deeply. This is merely his dream. Dreams are inherently absurd and strange, nothing unusual. He looked around and found this place almost identical to where he had previously stayed with Yu Hong. Except for the different era, it was still desolate and deserted. Stalls were set up on the streets, shops had their doors open, but there was not a single living person. It was as if, at some moment, everyone had been pulled out of this world. This reminded him of the scene when he had set up an illusion to protect this land, putting everyone into a deep sleep. Bitterness surged in his heart. He shook his head to dispel the thoughts and searched desperately for Yu Hong, but found no clue. He summoned the causal thread. The thread appeared, but as he followed the clue, he never knew what was hidden at the other end. This world seemed boundless, and the causal thread endless, plunging him into confusion. What was even more frustrating was that his teleportation ability was sealed here, making him restless. Could all of this be a trap set specifically to target him? He even suspected that Yu Hong disliked how he always acted in the quickest way possible, leaving almost no time to be with her. Since taking her as his disciple, the two of them had hardly any rare moments of peace. Most of the time was spent training, searching for weapons, and fighting. He never really accompanied her as she grew. Yu Hong was sensible and never complained. But as an orphan who had never felt love, how could she not long for companionship and affection? Ling Xiao felt guilty inside but could only admit that he hadn't done enough. Even if he saved Yu Hong now, he would still leave this place. This universe could no longer provide useful information. Staying here would only hold back Yu Hong and Ling Bai and bring danger. He would never do something so irrational. As he walked the streets, he suddenly felt a breeze stir, causing the grass leaves to sway. In this still world, every slight movement of the wind was meaningful. The only things that could break the absolute stillness and interact with him were either Yu Hong or the demonic energy lurking in his heart. It was precisely this demonic energy that hindered Yu Hong's awakening, and Ling Xiao seemed to have found another way. Since he couldn't solve all of Yu Hong's problems, he might as well directly dispel this demonic energy, preventing it from further amplifying the shadows in Yu Hong's heart. That way, Yu Hong could awaken. He looked toward the source of the voice but saw nothing. This was as he expected. If this thing could hide for so long and was immediately seen by him, that would be illogical. Perhaps it was a trap. Since it had appeared, then it was time to settle the score. The direction the voice came from was a small grove. The trees were neither too many nor too few, and the dim shade made it easier to hide. Obviously, it was extremely familiar with this terrain. Ling Xiao suspected it was some kind of tree-climbing animal, like a squirrel. But when he teleported closer and caught a glimpse of the figure, he realized it was a child. The size was similar to Yu Hong's, but it was not Yu Hong, it was a little boy. Or rather, the appearance was that of a little boy, but to appear in such a bizarre environment, he was definitely not an ordinary child. Ling Xiao didn't care about his identity. He just wanted to finish quickly and catch him to find out what was going on here. Arresting such a little guy was not difficult. After a few rounds of hide and seek, he easily captured him. He turned his head and asked coldly, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The little boy just stared at him fiercely, as if he didn't understand a word he said. Ling Xiao looked up, his gaze fixed ahead. He squinted and quickly used his spiritual power to probe the other's mental world. That thing was laughably low level, completely lacking intelligence, with an IQ at most comparable to a stray dog on the street. Knowing he couldn't get any answers, he directly grabbed him. Why not let go? Because his appearance was definitely not accidental. This world was extraordinarily special, born from the projection of Yu Hong's consciousness. All abnormal things were closely connected to Yu Hong's spirit. No clue could be overlooked, as it might be a key lead. After detaining that little guy, Ling Xiao continued forward. At the slightest movement of wind or grass, he used his spiritual power to probe again and captured another child similar to the previous one. Doubt grew, and he caught several more along the way, all placed in the pot that once belonged to Longzhu. These children were all chubby and cute in appearance, but their clothes were tattered, clearly living a bitter life. Ling Xiao felt pity but didn't know how to deal with them. After searching the entire domain, there was no trace of Yu Hong, and Ling Xiao was helpless. Being in the spiritual world, the Dream's master should be able to perceive everything, yet Yu Hong seemed to deliberately avoid detection. He could only release those children and observe carefully. Upon closer inspection, he found they were not simply similar but like one entity. The moles at the corners of their mouths were exactly the same, as if one soul split into many bodies. There was a faint spiritual connection among them. Ling Xiao suspected these might be fragments of Yu Hong's soul, but then thought it impossible. First, they were all boys, which didn't match the gender. Second, their auras were completely different, at best just Yu Hong's fantasy creations, making it hard to find clues from them. These children became Ling Xiao's only abnormalities. Aside from them, the entire world was dead silent, without any fluctuations. He tried to find abnormal connections from the children, pondering their relation to Yu Hong. These children seemed pitiful and cute but were of no help. Asking them to assist in summoning Yu Hong was like chasing a pipe dream. What made Ling Xiao suddenly realize was that Yu Hong's childhood was lonely and isolated, hostile to outsiders, and full of vigilance. He had imagined this group of wary and fierce children, who became the companions left behind after he was driven away. Yu Hong had a special affection for them, but this feeling was hard for ordinary people to understand. Ling Xiao looked at them, struggling to figure out how to use these children to summon Yu Hong. No matter how he tried, communication was ineffective. The children either didn't understand or refused to cooperate. Violence was even more futile, only deepening Yu Hong's psychological barriers. He was at his wit's end, racking his brain. Suddenly, he had a bright idea and turned to the market, spending money to buy a bunch of small toys and snacks. He stuffed these sugar-coated weapons one by one into the children's hands. At first, the children remained highly guarded. But hunger and the desire for warmth gradually made them lower their defenses, the fierce light in their eyes slowly fading as they focused on the toys and candies in their hands, revealing their original innocence. With their defenses down, the children finally showed their true nature. Slowly, their smiles, like sunshine, warmed Ling Xiao's heart and gave him hope for the next step. The toys captured their attention. Ling Xiao sensed the sudden change in their aura. Their vigilance was instantly replaced by joy, as if they suddenly understood something. Back then, Yu Hong was just as sensitive and alert, only because Ling Xiao appeared at the moment he needed him most and brought the familial affection he longed for, so he never felt the sharpness within Ling Xiao. In truth, he was always that persistent little girl. Ling Xiao gently patted the heads of several children, his heart filled with emotion. After a moment, the boys before him dissolved into a cloud of smoke, slowly condensing until Yu Hong's figure appeared. The Yu Hong in reality still looked like a child, but the expression on his face was no longer pure. Instead, it bore the demeanor of an adult. Powerful and dazzling, the aura of a supreme ruler radiated from him. Ling Xiao's heart tightened as he whispered, "Is that you, Yu Hong?" Yu Hong stared for 2 seconds, then his expression softened. "Master, it's me. I'm sorry. Although I was unconscious during this time, I vaguely sensed the presence of you and Ling Bai. You both sacrificed so much to bring me back." With just a few simple words, Ling Xiao confirmed his identity not only because of the words but also because of that familiar aura. Ling Xiao looked up. "Don't blame yourself, 783. Helping you is our responsibility." He turned and asked, "What exactly is going on in this world? How can we leave?" Asking the original owner was the fastest way. But Yu Hong's answer was unexpected. He shook his head. "I don't know either. Once this illusionary formation forms, it splits into 3 levels. You have to pass each level one by one to know what happens next. We're currently at the 2nd level, and even I don't understand how to clear it." Ling Xiao pondered and understood. These worlds were constructs of Yu Hong's subconscious. People can control their thoughts, but it's difficult to influence the subconscious, which is the deepest layer of desire. He gently patted Yu Hong's head. "Don't be afraid. Since we're all here and you're awake, sooner or later we'll get out. I just want it to be sooner. For now, let us continue exploring together." He asked again, "Have we already cleared the second level?" "You're awake." Yu Hong shook his head, "Not really. I suspect the condition to clear it is to restore the adult body, corresponding to this era. Otherwise, it should have been cleared long ago." Ling Xiao nodded in agreement. The two discussed that only by restoring the abilities of adulthood could that body be awakened. As cultivators, the body is not just flesh but also a symbol of strength. Once cultivation reaches a certain realm, one can achieve immortality. The stronger one is, the greater the control over the body, and the more resilient the flesh becomes. They were both top-tier experts, deeply understanding the mysteries within. For most people, the body's improvement grows in sync with the increase of spiritual power. But in special cases, the soul and body once peaked but fell to the bottom because they couldn't bear it, requiring a fresh start. This repeated process is easier than cultivating from zero as long as the opportunity and method are found. Recovery is possible without long years. But when the aura will appear and what form it will take, no one can say for sure. If they didn't want to sit and wait for death, they had to keep trying and continuously explore. Combining reflections on 4.8 and their own characteristics greatly increased the chances of success. Both were extremely intelligent, one who single-handedly reached the top as the world's strongest, the other humble in status but gifted beyond measure. The tiny girl had actually become the highest ruler of this world. Together, they unleashed astonishing energy, boosting efficiency several-fold. Their eyes briefly met, and their actions instantly began. Relying on previous exploration experience, they coordinated seamlessly. Ling Xiao used powerful mental strength to probe for spiritual power anomalies, capturing any strange fluctuations. Yu Hong was responsible for analysis and judgment. This was her world, and she understood its rules and origins best. Ling Xiao's divine sense swept every corner, while Yu Hong quickly deduced from scant clues. A faint abnormal sound came from the southeast corner. Ling Xiao passed through and found a chaotic mass of spiritual energy, permeated with demonic aura. Yu Hong approached, causing the demonic energy to lose its disguise and reveal its true form, which was instantly cut down by their combined effort. Afterward, the two successively cleared multiple derivative demonic energies and dispelled illusions. Most of the demonic energies originated from Yu Hong's past memories, those profound people and events, mixed with joyful memories involving Ling Xiao and Ling Bai, reflecting that all of Yu Hong's happiness in life was tied to these two. Level after level, the two fought fiercely and swiftly, soon breaking through all obstacles and reaching the opportunity to enter the third level. Suddenly, fluctuations surged. Ling Xiao tightly held Yu Hong's hands to prevent separation troubles during the crossing. After crossing, the environment stabilized. He raised his hand and found both empty. Yu Hong had vanished without a trace. He sighed deeply. This third level was another difficult search battle. It wasn't that he was powerless to keep Yu Hong, but because this was the land of nightmares, unrelated to reality. Ling Xiao's ability to maintain power was entirely due to the settings in Yu Hong's memory. If she set him to have nothing, he was helpless. Expanding his divine sense, he quickly locked onto Yu Hong's location. His perception instantly captured her aura. He hurried over with unwavering vigilance. After probing and questioning, he confirmed the person before him was indeed Yu Hong. But her memory had been reset, making things very tricky. Fortunately, the memory wipe only affected the previous two levels. The consensus memory between Ling Xiao and the universe remained intact. The current Yu Hong knew she was his disciple and understood why he suddenly appeared after many years of absence, but she had forgotten events that hadn't occurred in this timeline, such as being besieged with Ling Bai and being sealed by Ling Xiao. Despite this version of Yu Hong still chose to trust Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao said in a low voice, "You are now trapped in a dream. You were once seriously injured by accident, your soul shattered. We repaired your body and soul, but your soul is sealed by a barrier of evil energy, making it hard to awaken. We infiltrated the illusion array to help you remove these obstacles and return you to reality." Though Yu Hong found it hard to fully understand, her trust in Ling Xiao meant she didn't ask further and immediately cooperated to begin self-rescue. Having someone who always understands and trusts you is truly the greatest fortune. Together, the two continued exploring the third level. It was familiar yet desolate, still lifeless, and even Ling Bai had not appeared. The so-called disturbances were not enemies but Yu Hong's inner demons. This adventure was a process for Yu Hong to untie her emotional knots and strengthen her soul power. Ling Xiao helped her clear lurking evil spirits, aiding her to withstand future hardships. Ling Xiao quietly reminded her, the deeper the dream, the more serious the problems, and the more real the fear. But remember, we are always by your side and will never give up on you. Many people need you and love you. There's Ling Bai, Ling Daoshi, and your former clan members. They all remember you and hope for your return. Don't be afraid. If you are, come back to me. Think of them and don't retreat. Yu Hong nodded solemnly and said to Ling Xiao, Master, rest assured, I will hold on to my true heart and never disappoint you. The two turned, their gazes firm, stepping into the level. Suddenly, Ling Xiao felt trapped. An invisible barrier appeared around him, like a spatial seal but different. He couldn't sense beyond it, couldn't control anything, nor take a single step forward. He wanted to break through by force but understood this was a test set within Yu Hong's dream, with a reason behind it. Yu Hong sensed his understanding and said to her, Master, this level requires me to explore alone without external help. Please wait here for me. Ling Xiao had no choice but to look up and say, Alright, I trust you. Remember to trust yourself and those waiting for your return. They support you unconditionally. If you can't hold on, come back. No one will blame you. Yu Hong nodded firmly. Though her pace was not fast, she vanished from sight in the blink of an eye. Ling Xiao tried to probe with his divine sense but was limited to a 3-meter radius and had to give up, waiting patiently. Time lost meaning here, both long and short. The flow of time outside was completely different. He might have stayed a year while only seconds passed outside. Suddenly, the heavens and earth trembled. Ling Xiao was jolted awake, looking around as the world collapsed. The shock was like the end of days, putting him on high alert. He knew this realm couldn't harm him. Reason told him he was safe, but the fear from the visual impact was hard to erase. But collapse didn't last long. When he opened his eyes, space stabilized and the scene changed. He confirmed he had returned to the small real world. Anxious Ling Bai and the little spirit were waiting by his side. Ling Xiao turned to look beside him. Yu Hong's eyelids fluttered as she was about to awaken. The three finally breathed a sigh of relief. The little spirit anxiously circled around Ling Xiao. Ling Bai stepped forward, eyes fixed on Ling Xiao and Yu Hong, the stone in his heart finally settling. Great, the big problem is finally solved, you're awake. Ling Xiao was about to speak when Yu Hong slowly opened her eyes, sitting up weakly. Ling Xiao silently held back his words, bringing his fingers together to touch Yu Hong's brow, carefully examining the flow within her body. The soul and body were perfectly fused, spiritual power abundant, harboring a rare and powerful mental spiritual energy, as pure and flawless as the fruit borne by a spirit fruit tree. Ling Xiao nodded, feeling reassured. Yu Hong rubbed her head, her expression confused and weak, looking around at Ling Xiao and Ling Bai. After confirming safety, she softly asked, Where is this? Ling Bai answered, Senior sister, this is Master S' small world. You have been unconscious for a long time. Back then, during the great battle with the demon god, we were all severely injured. Master used the element of time to seal us, waiting for this moment to rescue us. Now Master has come to the small universe where we once took refuge. The child we once raised has now grown into a leader. You might want to go see him. They will surely be happy to see us. Ling Xiao agreed, yes, it's a great regret that we couldn't watch you grow up back then. You must fill that regret, live well in this world, and watch generation after generation rise. Don't let your baton instead help neighboring states grow stronger. A meaningful smile played on his face. Yu Hong finally accepted this reality. Just as he was lost in thought, a magnified little creature suddenly appeared before him. That was the first time he saw the little spirit able to sit up and communicate. The little spirit was extremely curious and couldn't help but come closer to chat. You're so beautiful. Are you the senior sister Ling Bai always talks about? Ling Bai never stops talking about you, and Master keeps mentioning you too. They both put so much effort into you. Yu Hong smiled gently and replied, Yes, I'm very grateful to Master and junior brother. What is your name? The little spirit proudly said, My name is Little Spirit, no other name. This is our most noble title. Yu Hong nodded, feeling happy. Their injuries were basically healed, only needing to cultivate quietly. Ling Xiao no longer kept them in his small world but took them out. They rested for a few days at Ling Xiao's current residence, preparing to say goodbye and leave. Yu Hong and Ling Bai already understood that Ling Xiao was not the type to be tied down. He was a free adventurer. Ling Xiao confirmed their safety and accompanied them to Ling Daoxi's place. Ling Daoxi didn't yet know they had fully recovered. Seeing them, his smile stretched from ear to ear. If he weren't afraid of neglecting Ling Xiao, he would have been circling around them non-stop. Seeing their harmonious relationship, Ling Xiao felt at ease. He said to Ling Daoxi, Their injuries have healed, but Yu Hong's new body and cultivation still need time to recover. Someone must protect her. The responsibility naturally falls on Ling Bai and you. The two patted their chests, promising to protect senior sister to the end. At parting, the three were reluctant but all understood the future was unpredictable. In the past, they were always separated from Master, never even having the chance to confess their feelings. Because Ling Xiao was bound by the river of time, he could be swept away at any moment to a distant time and space. This time, it was Ling Xiao's first voluntary departure. Each of the three had a bright future. Why regret? Despite their great strength, they still needed to follow the rules. The highest realm was nothing more than the pinnacle of immortality, and the path ahead was clear. Ling Xiao was different. He possessed talents beyond ordinary people and a unique system. If anyone in the world could break free from constraints, it had to be him. Those familiar with Ling Xiao never doubted this. He turned to look at the universe where he had once paused, a faint smile curling at the corner of his mouth. I will never forget you all. As soon as the words left his mouth, he vanished instantly, stepping toward his next target. Facing the pursuit and threats from the world's heavenly laws, although he repeatedly escaped danger, the crises kept escalating. Therefore, his destinations were either prosperous places gathering powerful warriors, capable of self-protection with his involvement, or desolate, uninhabited lands, minimizing the risk of being dragged down. Ling Xiao was extremely cautious, advancing step by step, never easily admitting failure. This sense of responsibility made him highly trustworthy. This time, he chose the former, a prosperous and secretive universe filled with many strong individuals, offering a strong sense of security. This place was very similar to the galaxy he first arrived in, whether in technology or education systems, it all felt familiar to him. Having been away from the Milky Way for so long, seeing this place unexpectedly stirred a strong sense of homesickness, and he couldn't help but reminisce about life back home. Following his usual routine, he first went to the hotel to check in, booked the top-tier suite, and sat in the luxurious lobby with a determined and profound gaze. The express elevator rapidly ascended, and as soon as the room card was inserted into the door lock, Ling Xiao instantly felt an unprecedented sense of ease. In the past, he either had to endure roughing it outdoors or find some shabby place to stay, never having experienced such luxury and convenience. Lying on the soft big bed, his ribs carrying fatigue, he had spent the past few days fully devoted to reviving the world of Yuhong, leaving him physically and mentally exhausted. Although Yuhong had safely awakened, he was so tired he could barely catch his breath. At this moment, he just wanted to fall into a deep, peaceful, and worry-free sleep. This hotel was equipped with a top-tier self-defense system, which was why he had spent a fortune here. But years of cultivated vigilance made him set up multiple spatial barriers around. Only after confirming absolute safety did he rest assured enough to close his eyes. A dreamless night, sleeping soundly. Morning light streamed through the high-tech glass into the room, warmth piercing his eyes, and the long mist sunlight made him squint slightly. He got up, ready to train. The world of advanced civilization was indeed extraordinary. Here, not only was the bedroom comfortable, the dining hall upscale, and the training room fully equipped, but there were even expensive sparring partners available for hire. But Ling Xiao didn't need a sparring partner. It wasn't because he lacked money or didn't like it, but because his strength was too great, and no one could keep up with his pace. Training with him, a slight mistake could mean death. Cherishing life, Ling Xiao both valued himself and was unwilling to easily wear others down. He also got a VIP gold card, ready to show off his skills in the training room. This training room was extraordinary, specially designed for top-tier cultivators, spacious, with walls embedded with powerful defense devices to prevent damage from spiritual power strikes. Ling Xiao looked around and nodded with satisfaction. The equipment for training spiritual power and physical strength was all there, and the bookshelves were filled with densely packed secret manuals. He had long since dismissed those manuals, but they were enough to prove how well prepared this place was. With a thought, he decided to start by training his fist techniques. Although protected by barriers, with his spiritual power strikes, it was hard to guarantee the training room wouldn't be damaged. Recently, he had done a lot of preparation to revive Yuhong, consuming a huge amount of mental and spiritual power, but as a result, he had rapidly improved. Now, he clearly felt his mental abilities leap to a new level. Although the spiritual ranking system of this world had been lost, he could still sense the breakthrough in his realm. When he had time, he still needed to ask the little elf for more detailed grading methods. Before training, he first conducted a comprehensive check of his physical condition to accurately assess his own state. Then, he carefully adjusted his boxing techniques to make the moves better suited to his current self. If the boxing techniques remained unchanged, it would be difficult to keep up with the rapid improvement in strength. Now the boxing wind was fiercer, filled with killing intent. He tested his punches, the explosive sounds shaking the sky, but were tightly sealed by well-soundproofed walls, leaving the outside world completely unaware. No one knew that inside this room, a powerful expert was relentlessly training. Ling Xiao looked around with satisfaction, thinking the money was well spent. From now on, he would come to the high-level universe more often, live comfortably, and train to his heart's content. The next moment, his fists struck like a storm in rapid succession, the boxing wind howling, and the explosive sounds rising one after another. The cracking sounds in the air continued without pause, as if the space itself was being torn apart. But the advanced building materials and barriers silently endured everything, remaining unchanged. In his mind, the explosive sounds intertwined with system prompt tones, bursting forth. Ding! Host trained for 1 minute, skill familiarity plus 580, body strength plus 1584.3 billion, data fusion in progress. Data fusion successful, skill points increased. Ding! Host trained for 1 minute, skill familiarity plus 580, body strength plus 1584.3 billion, data fusion in progress. Data fusion successful, skill points increased. Training for 1 minute, skill proficiency increased by 580, body strength surged by 1584.3 billion, data fusion in progress. Data fusion complete, skill points increased. The prompt tones rang repeatedly, Ling Xiao's strength skyrocketing wildly, his momentum sweeping like a violent storm. He himself could not feel the change, but if someone were nearby, they would surely be terrified by the overwhelming aura emanating from him. This aura carried no hint of killing intent, yet it was enough to instinctively make others keep their distance. That kind of incomprehensible, uncontrollable power filled them with fear. Ling Zhao's strength had already approached the limits of human comprehension. Why are those endlessly powerful beings called transcendent? Because they have long surpassed human understanding, freed themselves from worldly shackles, and broken all the bonds of rules. By then, he was no longer a mortal but an existence above all else. No one could limit or imprison him. In his dictionary, there was only the word infinite. Fortunately, although Ling Xiao was powerful, he was not a tyrant. If he had not remained calm, the world would have long been awash in blood and strewn with corpses. During cultivation, Ling Xiao's mind was free of distractions, utterly focused. In his eyes, the world was no longer cold matter but countless entangled and twisted energy clusters. He could absorb them and make them his own. He could also destroy them, turning them into nothingness. Controlling them was the secret to mastering the world. This power even amazed Ling Xiao himself. When strength reached its peak, battle was no longer mere slaughter but a realm beyond the mundane. At this moment, he looked at those energy clusters, not rushing to devour or destroy them, but quietly appreciating their meaning and beauty. As his strength grew, his divinity became more apparent. No longer merely pursuing brute force, he gradually became an existence controlling all things. This was the great way. His power transformed with his state of mind, shifting from outward rage to inward profundity, yet becoming even more fearsome and mysterious. Strength would never diminish because of modesty. Mysterious power flowed within him, nourishing every cell, his body and mind immersed in unparalleled comfort. Suddenly, a piercing alarm sounded in the quiet training room. Before Ling Xiao could react, urgent knocking came from outside the door. He withdrew his spiritual power, sweating, and opened the door. Outside stood a uniformed service staff member. The person immediately bowed apologetically. Sorry to interrupt your training. Your power fluctuations have exceeded what the walls can withstand. We need to ask you to move to a higher level laboratory. Ling Xiao nodded helplessly, understanding. All right, then please arrange the highest level training package for me. The attendant smiled and waved his hand. No payment needed. Top talents receive special treatment, and all previous charges will be fully refunded. Ling Xiao took back his gold card without further words. Then please lead the way. The attendant readily agreed and led him to the high-speed elevator, pressing the button for the top floor. The elevator rapidly ascended, and after a moment, the two arrived at the top floor. Ling Xiao was surprised to find that this was not a luxurious hall, but an extremely minimalist training space, just a single room designed specifically for intense training. This was a super-large training room, equipped with excellent gear and rare manuals, with walls of several levels higher quality. Ling Xiao couldn't help but click his tongue in amazement. He had clearly underestimated the strength of this top-tier cosmic hotel. The training environment here would be difficult to destroy even if he went all out. Ling Xiao said calmly, your hotel truly lives up to its reputation, worthy of such fame. Silently he thought, it really is worth the high price. The waiter nodded respectfully and said, please continue your cultivation. If you need anything, just press the bell by the door, and we will attend to you immediately. Most of these services are free of charge. Ling Xiao nodded slightly and thanked gratefully. After the waiter left, he did not immediately enter a focused cultivation state. When cultivating, he emphasized undistracted concentration. After being disturbed, he was accustomed to relaxing for a moment first, then adjusting to the best state before fully committing. He glanced at the carefully prepared drinks and snacks beside him, sat down to savor them slowly, rewarding himself. He had never enjoyed such treatment when pioneering star systems. Given the opportunity, he naturally wanted to experience it wholeheartedly. Ling Xiao came from a country that valued gourmet food, with unique dietary habits, and was unexpectedly satisfied with the delicacies here. Every sip of drink and bite of pastry stimulated his taste buds, clearly made with great care. After tasting, he cleared his physical and mental fatigue, stretched his muscles and bones, feeling refreshed, and finally decided to begin cultivation. He opened the attribute panel. Name, Ling Xiao. Repair count, 117. Martial realm, immortal realm, 6th heaven. Soul realm, immortal realm, 10th heaven with Dao Rhyme blessing. Vitality, 9,000 billion Gai 1 point equals 3 quintillion kilograms of force. Soul, 8,000 billion Gai. Secondary profession Grandmaster, 10 types 17th rank, mid-grade, 0.5 quadrillion, legendary. Skill, Weapon Master Triple Path, 150x, 010 to the power of 16. Laws, 3000 limit 800, 480 types of domains. Talents, Undying Divine Body Immortal level, Combat Power 5000%, Human Emperor Body Heavenly Dao level, Blessing 10 trillion, Void Dragon Body Immortal level, Physical Body 2048, Creation Power 17th rank Supreme, 2999 types. Cultivation methods, Will of the Gods Heavenly Dao level, 17th rank Shattered 50,000, Demon God Nirvana 17th rank lower grade, Frenzied Absorption 17th rank lower grade, Law of Heaven and Earth 17th rank middle grade, 1000, Creation Divine Scripture 18th rank lower grade, Consciousness Fission 17th rank lower grade, 5000. Introduction to Spiritual Cultivation Manual 17th rank lower grade 5000, Beginner Spiritual Attack Supporting Cultivation Method 17th rank lower grade 5000, 100 Methods to Forge Spiritual Attack Devices 17th rank lower grade 5000, Advanced Formation Cultivation 17th rank lower grade 5000, Material Deception of Illusory Great Formation 17th rank lower grade 5000. Martial Skills, Death Spear Technique 17th rank middle grade 400, World Destroying Light 17th rank lower grade 300, Teleportation 17th rank lower grade 200, Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th rank lower grade 200, Demon Chi and Demon Martial Analysis 17th rank middle grade 400, Soul Dance 15th rank lower grade 300, Dark Divine Poem 16th rank middle grade 400, Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence 15th rank lower grade 400. Early Falling Flowers 14th rank lower grade, 300, Prajnaparamita Sutra 14th rank P, 500. Equipment, Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th rank middle grade, Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th rank middle grade, Angel Wings 17th rank lower grade, Black Star Stone King 17th rank and above, unknown, Demon Subduing Wave 16th rank middle grade, Soul Summoning Sail 17th rank lower grade, Responding Heaven Spirit 17th rank peak, Vajra Bracelet 15th rank lower grade, Natural Intent 16th rank upper grade, Martial Soul Chariot 15th rank upper grade, Buddha Light Pearl 17th rank upper grade, Mental Gold Ingot 16th rank peak, Lihua Jade Pure Bottle 15th rank upper grade, Glazed Forest Light Beginning 16th rank middle grade, Jadeite Spirit Gathering Bowl 17th rank lower grade, Floating Light Music Theory Brocade 15th rank middle grade. Lansong Jade Bone Fan 17th rank middle grade, Hibiscus Jade Stone 17th rank upper grade, Jade Butterfly Ancient Seal 17th rank middle grade, Hemlock Wood Physical System Cultivation Method, Meat Floss Peak 17th rank upper grade, rapidly replenishes large amounts of power when weak, Echo Ring 17th rank upper grade, can simulate the pressure of cultivators 2 realms higher than oneself, Soul Pavilion 17th rank upper grade. Physical Combat Power, Ultra Immortal Realm 3rd level. Ultimate Combat Power, Ultra Immortal Realm, 4th level. Ling Xiao nodded with satisfaction. His cultivation progress during this period had been extremely rapid. At his realm, improving strength was already very difficult, yet he still broke through the barriers, with the data clearly displayed before his eyes. He put away the attribute sheet, feeling pleased, ready to begin a new round of cultivation. Recently, his cultivation always felt unsmooth. The reason was simple: he had already mastered the previous techniques to the extreme, even feeling somewhat bored. Subconsciously, he longed for a breakthrough, for change. But breakthroughs were almost as difficult as reaching the heavens. After all, his current strength far surpassed most peak immortal realm experts, nearly touching the limit. Ling Xiao was never satisfied, always focusing on his shortcomings. Even when nearly perfect, he could not escape this rule. He calmly adjusted his mindset and began to strike hard. This set of boxing techniques was much more awkward than before, with distracting thoughts swirling in his mind, unable to calm down. He kept pondering how to speed up cultivation and increase strength. Steady and solid progress was effective, but it could not satisfy his desire to become the strongest. What he wanted was the ultimate, the fastest cultivation speed and the strongest power. To others, this was nothing but a fool's dream. You can't have both, fish and bear's paw. Greed leads to choking. But Ling Xiao knew that nothing was impossible. Each punch was powerful, as if to shatter the barrier blocking his breakthrough. To outsiders, he was already flawless. Ding! Host has cultivated for 1 minute, technique familiarity plus 580, body strength plus 1584.3 billion, data fusion in progress. Data fusion successful, skill points increased. The prompt sounded repeatedly, recording every bit of his progress without omission. But Ling Xiao was still not satisfied. He understood he could be faster, stronger, becoming someone admired by all. Every punch was delivered with full force, without reservation. The shadow of his fists was like the wind, seemingly striking the void, yet in his eyes, a real opponent appeared. The opponent pressed forward step by step, every move deadly, forcing him to fight with exhilaration and rapid progress. This feeling was unprecedented. Ling Xiao seemed to have discovered a new world, continuously unleashing moves, pouring out all he had learned. Every counterattack from the opponent was incredibly precise, breaking through his techniques. Once again, Ling Xiao. Every move of Xiao was easily countered, each strike as precise as clockwork, the 800 sounds ringing in his ears. But the more he fought, the more excited he became, his blood boiling, heart racing. This was exactly the feeling he had been desperately seeking. This feeling was like opening the door to a new world. Ling Xiao seemed to have unearthed a priceless treasure, racing against time, afraid to miss even a moment. Who knew how long it would be before he encountered this state again? With such an opportunity, he could never let go. Every possible improvement was the secret weapon that had brought Ling Xiao to where he was today. Others could never reach his level because digging into the limits of potential was extremely difficult. Many understood the principles, but very few could truly achieve it. But Ling Xiao was not one of those people. He knew his limits clearly, was familiar with every set of techniques, secret manuals, moves, and even the subtle changes in every battle, understanding them thoroughly. With outstanding talent, diligent study, and system assistance, his abilities were categorized and managed with data. His strengths and weaknesses were imprinted in his mind, becoming an irreplaceable advantage. At this moment, the exhilarating duel made him understand why high-priced sparring partners were so sought after. A good sparring partner could make you improve rapidly. But Ling Xiao's strength no longer had suitable opponents. Masters who could stimulate his potential either hid their strength or were aloof, never willing to spar for others. The imaginary enemy before him suddenly appeared, a semi-transparent spirit, neither a hallucination nor something he had seen before. Ling Xiao did not delve into its origin. Time was tight, and this rare sparring opportunity had to be seized. He gave his all, coordinating his boxing, mental power, and body, displaying ultimate skill. This peak duel was highly effective, with great improvement. But Ling Xiao still felt it was insufficient. The phantom before him had no soul, limited intelligence, and restricted spiritual enhancement, focusing only on combat skills and technique mastery. Even so, he gained astonishing results. This battle surpassed 1,000 years of cultivation by others. Ling Xiao was extremely excited, almost drawing his blade for a thrilling fight. But reason made him give up. If he rashly drew his blade, it would not only weaken his own understanding of his skills but might also accelerate the opponent's energy consumption, causing the opponent to dissipate quickly, which would be counterproductive. He pursued maximum benefit and would never make a losing deal. The two continued to clash, the phantom's movements still as swift as before. Ling Xiao felt increasingly fatigued, but the opponent showed no signs of weakening, and its transparency had not increased. At this moment, his heart stirred even more. This was not a consumptive illusion but some kind of powerful existence. He had originally thought this high-end hotel hid secrets, but the situation before him was far more complicated than imagined. Service occasionally appeared, but the current situation was clearly different. If it were a hotel, there would definitely be a corresponding energy consumption system. But on reflection, no hotel could provide such powerful and precise service. If such energy truly existed, there would be no need to run a hotel. It would directly become the most respected existence in the universe. Such a person, no matter what they did, would never lack wealth. His subjects, followers, and all who depended on him would offer their wealth before him. He would only need to sit on his throne, accepting offerings and respect. In a brief gaze, Ling Xiao sensed the other's abnormality. The person before him needed no energy support yet could see through his weaknesses at a glance, which meant he had an extremely high mastery of the Tao resonance. Tao resonance, aside from Ling Xiao and the legendary great powers, is mastered by almost no one. Ling Xiao immediately thought of that existence he had been avoiding yet seeking, the world heavenly Tao. But the world heavenly Tao of this world was different from what Ling Xiao had previously imagined. It was more like the rules of the universe, unconscious, emotionless, and without preference. The world heavenly Tao that had previously hunted Ling Xiao, however, was conscious, very likely a great power who had cultivated postnatally, merging the original world rules while retaining self-awareness and emotions, thus rejecting threats. The world heavenly Tao before him now, however, hoped for the emergence of strong individuals in the world and would provide moderate help and guidance. Ling Xiao recalled several encounters that had brought him great gains. Now it seemed very likely these were arrangements by this world heavenly Tao. This discovery excited Ling Xiao. Not only had his strength improved, but he had also uncovered information about hidden enemies, greatly increasing his chances of victory in the future. Avoiding falling into the opponent's traps due to insufficient information and suffering heavy losses. The gains far exceeded mere power enhancement, because information gaps are often fatal without understanding the enemy. A single move could lead to complete ruin. This confrontation proved the opponent's extraordinary combat power, stemming not only from a strong accumulation of spiritual power but also from a profound understanding of Tao resonance. Since coming into contact with Tao resonance, Ling Xiao realized its power was far from ordinary, and the first encounter had shocked his soul. He was clear that if he were to face the true world heavenly Tao head-on, without any rule restrictions, the outcome would be beyond doubt. He would undoubtedly lose, not because of his own weakness, but because his opponent was fundamentally on a completely different level. The other party is the world's rules themselves. They can even directly determine victory or defeat. In the current situation, this unconscious world's heavenly Tao rules easily see through the strengths and weaknesses of each of his moves and effortlessly counter them. Ling Xiao even suspects that his fierce battle with the other party is not due to equal strength, but because the other party is deliberately holding back, maintaining the same level to help him grow and guide his shortcomings. In this way, the other party's strength far exceeds imagination. But Ling Xiao remains full of confidence. He sees that although the other party greatly enhances their power by borrowing the world's heavenly Tao, they are bound by many restrictions. Just as he can freely use his power, the other party is limited by the rules. The other party has transcended the life of this realm and should not crush him at will. Even if they do not become a savior, they are restricted by the world's heavenly Tao rules and cannot harm him. Even if the other party hates him to the bone, they can only exploit loopholes in the rules to pose limited threats to him. All of this is just the beginning. Ling Xiao remains unscathed and instead gradually uncovers the other party's secrets, causing them to slowly lose their last card for self-protection. Perhaps one day, Ling Xiao will easily uncover all their secrets, expose them in broad daylight, dismantle their defenses bit by bit, and ultimately defeat and imprison them in a cage. That lofty king who controls everything will cease to exist. At that time, will he be able to accept the fall of his identity? Will he be willing to become an honest man? Or perhaps he will be unable to accept it at all. Everything is uncertain. But Ling Xiao firmly believes that this day will eventually come. Those who dare to anger him will ultimately be trampled underfoot, becoming stepping stones on his path to success and marks of his glorious past. This is the meaning of his existence. Ling Xiao casually sat in the training room. The fierce battle with the virtual enemy just now had completely dissipated. There was not the slightest trace in the air. Even using the world's heavenly Tao techniques he had learned before, he could not detect any residual Tao resonance, as if it had all been an illusion. But the gains he obtained were real and tangible. Every bit of newly born power within his body was both strange and familiar. Strange because it had just been nurtured, familiar because it originated from his body. How could he not recognize it? Feeling this power, Ling Xiao's whole body burned with heat, not just an increase in energy, but a profound change in his body. After this battle, his confidence in opposing the world's heavenly way greatly increased, and he became clearer that the threat from the other side might not be as deadly as imagined. Originally worried that the world's heavenly way rules could easily lock onto him, as part of the rules, the opponent's consciousness entity could naturally track his whereabouts and even secretly set traps. From his past observations, the opponent's methods were becoming increasingly sophisticated and evolving rapidly. Ling Xiao had to raise his vigilance and be ready to face unknown crises at any time. The crisis could be old or entirely new. He could not predict what would happen in the next second. Only by continuously strengthening his own power could he respond steadily. This time, he no longer blindly threw punches but engraved every detail and technique from the battle into his mind, practicing repeatedly. striving to extract the greatest value and unleash the strongest energy. He felt he had grasped a rare opportunity. After fighting that person for a full hour, the opponent did not gradually exhaust their energy but quietly disappeared in an instant, leaving no trace. This opportunity was uncontrollable. It could only be encountered and dealt with rationally. Ling Xiao had always performed excellently, and this time was no exception. He kept recalling the details just now and discovered knowledge points previously unnoticed, with familiar techniques becoming more proficient. With his exceptional comprehension, these skills would gradually be etched into muscle memory and infused into his soul. But he still imitated the movements, reproducing the thoughts and moves from that moment again. Then, he stood in the opponent's perspective, practicing the opponent's movements and techniques. Through repeated strikes, he felt his abilities continuously elevate, reaching the peak of understanding various martial arts. Suddenly, an unknown power awakened within his body. Perhaps this power had always been his, just never fully unleashed before. At this moment, his potential was fully activated, and he became a blazing flame. The flame did not burn him but was full of energy and a desire for destruction. His body was strangely extraordinary. That power seemed both his and beyond him. It was both derived from nature and integrated with himself. Mysterious and powerful, irresistible. Obsessed with him, intoxicated by him. Ling Xiao tentatively threw a punch. There was no fluctuation in the air, no violent wind tearing through space like before. The fist seemed to carry a silent power, calm and undisturbed, even making onlookers doubt it was just his illusion. But Ling Xiao knew clearly this energy had become more restrained, deep like an undercurrent. It hadn't disappeared but was controlled by him with extreme precision. The power no longer leaked recklessly, only erupting the moment it struck the target, forming an unstoppable destructive airflow. That airflow was so powerful even he couldn't imagine it. He understood that no one in this world could withstand this punch of his. Although eager to test this power, suitable opponents were hard to find. Only extremely quiet and strong beings could contend with it. For now, he had neither the time nor the strength to search. Since that was the case, there was no need to rush. The strength had settled within him and would not vanish sooner or later. He would have the chance to unlock all its secrets. What he must do now is continuously improve himself. Not be satisfied with the status quo, always discover new sources of power, always pursue breakthroughs. This is the fundamental reason he becomes the strongest. Even standing at the peak, he never stops. He knows clearly that his greatest enemy is only himself. And those who want to kill him will never cease. This is the nature of the world, the cruel law of the survival of the fittest. People both respect and resent the strong. Everyone desires to reach the top and control everything. Whenever there is a chance, they will try every means to pull him down from the altar and weaken his power as much as possible. Ling Xiao feels no resentment about this. It is the natural law, survival of the fittest, the strong dominate. Now that he has this ability, he chooses to stand at the highest point without oppressing others. But if someone challenges him in the future, he will also go all out, never yielding. This is fair, with no right or wrong, only the rules of the world. Ling Xiao repeatedly recalled the battle scene just now, examining every detail as if with a magnifying glass. He even began studying the true composition of his opponent's body. That energy was extremely unique, almost never consumed easily. Its density far exceeded what ordinary people had seen. It was a highly efficient way of using energy. If he could master this method, the energy consumption in future battles would be greatly reduced, and his strength would leap to a new level. But this was not easily obtained. He could only glimpse the doorway, not yet fully understand it. He summoned the system, the virtual universe, and the little sprite, his reliance for solving all problems, and first asked the system. The system responded, "Ding. The opponent is composed of the world's heavenly Tao, and the body is condensed from the spiritual power of heaven and earth. Because it itself is a rule and can easily define the world, studying its body structure is quite simple. Also, there is no need to worry about energy consumption. The spiritual power of heaven and earth is its energy, and it can use as much as it wants anytime, anywhere." After hearing this, Ling Xiao's heart sank slightly. This meant it was the opponent's special ability, impossible to imitate or copy. He suddenly felt he had lost a great strength. He continued to ask, "If humans want to reach this realm, is there a shortcut?" The system replied, "Ding, yes. Only by elevating the understanding of Tao resonance beyond all humans, becoming the supreme master of Tao resonance in the world, controlling the rules like the world's heavenly Tao, and using one's own Tao resonance as the foundation, can one reach this realm." The spiritual energy was like a cage, locking the power into a fixed form, becoming his armor. Or, this spiritual energy armor could also enhance techniques, combining defense and offense, an excellent method. After hearing this, Ling Xiao felt a surge of excitement in his heart. The opportunity had come, although difficult to achieve immediately. Hope was right before him. His understanding of Tao resonance was far inferior to that of the heavenly Tao of heaven and earth, but he firmly believed that as long as he worked hard, nothing was impossible. This was his belief and also his motto. He finally found a new goal. His spiritual power and physical body had reached their limits, making breakthroughs difficult in the short term, so it was better to focus on Tao resonance. The power brought by Tao resonance was extraordinary, especially the thread of causality, which was an existence beyond common logic, a fatal strike that even the strongest found hard to resist. This energy was not as conspicuous as spiritual power or magic power, but it concealed destructive potential and was rarely used in daily life. He had once overlooked it. Until the sudden appearance of that person made him deeply realize the true power of this energy. He would never give up easily and vowed to give his all to try. Success would bring great gain, and failure would not matter. Now he was already the strongest, and progress was only a matter of time. With enough time, no lifespan in the world could match his, and it was almost impossible for anyone to eliminate him. He had become the number one under the world's heavenly Tao, even able to freely wield 48% of the heavenly Tao's power. At this point, what was there to fear? Only by bravely trying could he live up to this life. He touched his solid muscles to others. They seemed ordinary, but he knew the terrifying power hidden within. Ling Xiao slightly bent his arm, feeling the explosive energy surge. Now, splitting a planet with bare hands was no longer difficult. Although crushing stars was as easy for a supreme strongman as crushing ants, very few could do it with physical strength alone. Most people rely on the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for assistance, and the power of spiritual energy far surpasses that of muscle and flesh. But Ling Xiao, relying on the strength of his body to reach this realm, is beyond what others can imagine. He put down his hands with satisfaction, secretly deciding to train his body more. When facing not so strong enemies, relying solely on physical combat to relieve boredom is also not bad. This is by no means arrogance. He has enough confidence. He possesses the undying sacred body, and injuries are only temporary for him. His opponents think he has never been hurt, but in the blink of an eye, invisible to the naked eye, he has fully recovered. This speed is incomprehensible to ordinary cultivators. No matter how strong their spiritual power is, they cannot understand why his strength is so fierce. Ling Xiao has become accustomed to standing at the peak, looking down on the masses. He only hopes that people will be sensible and not provoke him lightly. Peaceful coexistence is the daily life he yearns for. Usually, he is polite and respectful to everyone. Just like when facing a waiter's request to change rooms, he never shows resistance. Being strong does not mean one can disrespect others. This is the upbringing he has had since childhood. But if anyone dares to harm him, he will be merciless and kill without pardon. His experiences have long proven this. Ling Xiao released his spiritual power, searching the area for hidden traces that covered the sky and earth. He thought to himself that if given the chance, he must summon that invisible person again. Or figure out the frequency of his appearances and disappearances, which could help clear his thoughts. His help was immense. Just 1 hour of guidance was worth a month of his own cultivation. Of course, this was just his own month. If it were someone else, even a lifetime might not bring such a leap. Such strength is what many dream of but can never reach. Ling Xiao sighed lightly. Since it couldn't be found, then forget it. One must know contentment. Greed will only lead to worse outcomes. He forcibly calmed his mood and looked up toward the window. The sky had quietly darkened, as if the flow of time in this world differed from the outside. Perhaps the cycle of the stars was also abnormal. The daytime here was not 24 hours. Night fell, and Ling Xiao was never accustomed to cultivation at night. He believed people should work at sunrise and rest at sunset. Even if his cultivation was strong enough to not require sleep for recovery, he still adhered to his old habits. Balancing work and rest was the only way to truly enjoy life freely, so that one day, when looking back, he wouldn't find that he had nothing but cultivation. A wave of fatigue suddenly surged in his heart. He quickly returned to his room, longing for a deep and refreshing sleep to relieve the weariness deep in his soul. This fatigue was mostly mental rather than physical. Many people chose shallow cultivation instead of sleep, which was fast and allowed continuous advancement, but Ling Xiao despised this. He firmly believed that 1 minute of cultivation while fully awake was worth more than 1,000 years of shallow cultivation. There was no need to torture himself. He only wanted to follow his true heart and protect this small personal habit. He took a hot shower, warm water flowing down from his head, bringing a touch of warmth and relaxation. If he weren't so exhausted, he would even want to try some long-forgotten activities to experience the colorful life of this highly civilized world. After washing up, he lowered the barrier, lay back on the bed, and quickly fell asleep. No one knew that his existence was supposed to be low-key and secret, yet some powerful individuals had noticed him. The next day, a servant brought a message. Someone came to visit, saying you would definitely want to see him. Ling Xiao showed no expression and replied lightly, "No meeting. Refuse all such visitors from now on." The servant was slightly stunned but then handed over a small, exquisite wooden box. This was left by that visitor. He said if you refuse to see him, then at least take a look at this. Ling Xiao took the box. Its weight was unexpected, and a sense of mystery arose. Without hesitation, he opened it directly, not even using his divine sense to investigate. His intuition told him this person only wanted to attract attention, adding a bit of mystery, with absolutely no ill intent. Inside the box was a golden pill, spiritual energy surging, as if it wanted to enter his body through his fingertips. Ling Xiao carefully sensed it, confirmed the spiritual energy was harmless, and then let it seep into his meridians. The spiritual energy circulated inside, bringing a wonderful sense of comfort. Suddenly, he seemed to have an insight and understood the purpose of this pill. He summoned the system, expecting some concrete data. After the system scanned, it prompted, ding. Golden Pearl Medicine, 18th rank, low grade, a holy healing item that can instantly seal wounds, and wearing it for a long time can also refresh and brighten the eyes. Ling Xiao's interest was instantly ignited. An 18th rank high-level item was rare for him to see. Especially healing items, which were extremely scarce. Although he had the immortal saint body and this thing was of limited help to him, it was definitely a good treasure, enough to keep as a decent gift. He understood in his heart that this person sincerely wanted to make friends. Their status was noble, and their strength was definitely not simple. They came with ill intent and must have a request for him, and the conditions offered would surely be tempting. Ling Xiao was always willing to help others. Even though he was tricked by that resurrected person last time, he did not regret it because the reward was adequate. These past few years had been peaceful and uneventful, with cultivation becoming his only daily routine. He had no interest in taking disciples anymore. The burden of being a master had long been set down. Resisting the world's heavenly way disturbances had become a habit, and the frequency and intensity of the heavenly way had decreased, sometimes even helping him improve his realm. This request came at just the right time. Ling Xiao said calmly to the attendant, "Bring him in." He lazily leaned back on the sofa, with no intention of tidying his appearance. To a peerless strongman, appearance was nothing but a cloud. After a moment, the door was knocked. He waved his spiritual power to verify identity, the door opened, and footsteps came softly. Obviously, the visitor knew he had his eyes closed and deliberately slowed their steps, showing clear politeness. Ling Xiao nodded with satisfaction, slowly opened his eyes, and stood up. "You're here. You're the one looking for me? Speak, what is it?" The conversation was concise, the aura sharp. Neither side liked beating around the bush. The person got straight to the point. "Indeed, there is a difficult problem I need your help with. A few days ago, I sensed a peerless strongman arriving here. After you entered the hotel, the sensing weakened. The hotel's advanced defenses took effect. Although the protection was extremely strict, 2 days later I sensed a powerful fluctuation again. That fluctuation was secretive, restrained by isolation and the master, strong yet not ostentatious. I have witnessed your strength and have long been moved. After 2 days of hesitation, I finally decided to visit. I have a tricky matter at hand. If you don't help, I have no other options. He has troubled me for a long time. I confirmed that I am powerless to deal with him, so I dared to disturb you. If I offend you, please forgive me." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "No need to be polite. Go ahead and speak." The man confirmed the door was locked and looked around. The hotel's protective barrier combined with Ling Xiao's personal shield made it incredibly safe and secretive. The caution of a strong person earned his respect. He said in a low voice, "It's really hard to speak of. Some time ago, my daughter received a strange gift. The gift itself was harmless, but since that day, my daughter began to become wildly irritable, bloodthirsty, uncontrollable every day, addicted to killing. Some can only suppress their inner frenzy by eating raw meat. Actually, I wasn't too worried, since he is the master of the extreme evil sin domain, and every day he is given a few criminals to satisfy his cravings. Bloody slaughter has become a habit. But recently, his frenzy has clearly escalated. No longer content with quietly slaughtering those prisoners who are helpless, he has started targeting close family by blood. The closer one gets to him, the more violent he becomes. When I approach, he locks onto the target and launches a fatal attack without hesitation, as if seeking death. My daughter is still young, her cultivation is at the 7th heaven of the immortal realm, and she should easily suppress his frenzy. But if he doesn't achieve his goal, he crazily harms himself, even launching suicide attacks. We simply cannot stop him from hurting himself. I fear that one day he will tear himself apart beyond rescue, ruining his life. Now, his symptoms show no sign of relief. I fear he will ultimately lose all humanity. This is the disaster I fear most, so I am extremely eager for you to solve this curse for us. Of course, I will give you a satisfactory reward. You can name any condition. After listening, Ling Xiao felt a strong interest rise in his heart. He had never seen such a case before and immediately decided to take on the task. But he did not rush to show it. He calmly asked, "Since you want me to solve it, you must be completely honest and not hide any secrets. Any concealment could cause your daughter to suffer even greater disaster. I believe you won't want to see such an outcome either." The man's face stiffened upon hearing this. After 2 seconds of silence, he gritted his teeth and said, "All right, there is indeed something different. He is not only bloodthirsty but also treats that prisoner as his master, obeying him. He even wants to kill us, all under that prisoner's orders. We have worked hard to raise our daughter, to make her strong, and we absolutely refuse to let her become someone else's pawn. So, I sincerely hope you can take on this mission." Ling Xiao stared at him, thinking to himself, interesting. A strange gift has turned him into a puppet at others' command. He immediately spoke, "Have you considered that someone deliberately gave your daughter that item, hoping to make her obey them? The plan went awry, and this power ended up in someone else's hands. Or perhaps, that prisoner managed to get this thing into her hands." The man said, "We have thought about that too. But that prisoner was already killed by our family long ago, yet the command still exists. No matter the truth, the most important thing now is to lift the curse on your daughter and sever her obedience to others' commands. Otherwise, she will be isolated and helpless, turning into a madman who kills indiscriminately and will eventually be surrounded and killed. I cannot just watch her walk toward destruction." Ling Xiao touched his chin and stood up. "Don't worry, I'll take the mission. I will do my best to help your daughter return to normal." The man immediately stood up and grasped Ling Xiao's hand tightly. "Great. If you succeed, I will never let you down. I am the administrator of the extreme evil sin domain. If you need anything, tell me anytime. I can also help with special requests." Ling Xiao understood and nodded in thanks. There was nothing urgent that needed a green light for now, just informing him that he would arrive tomorrow. The man frowned, reluctant to leave, wanting to say something but hesitating, and finally left bitterly. He actually hoped Ling Xiao would act immediately, preferably going with him to see his daughter right away. But he understood that agreeing was already very good and he couldn't push further. The other party was unwilling to leave with him. Such a request was too much to ask. If he angered them, this plea for help might be rejected altogether. He could only leave first. After waiting so long, one more day was nothing. His intuition told him Ling Xiao would definitely help solve this problem. If even Ling Xiao was powerless, then no one in this world could help him. His intuition was indeed correct. As a strong man, although he couldn't precisely judge Ling Xiao's spiritual power level, he had an instinctive feeling. Ling Xiao was not only the strongest of the current era but also the only one who mastered spiritual power. He was well versed in various advanced formations and had even personally awakened a dream realm expert at the peak of immortality, bringing him back to life. In short, Ling Xiao was the only hope to resolve this incident. He chose to set off tomorrow, without any special reason, just wanting to savor the delicious meal he had just ordered one more time. He is almost obsessively passionate about food. Perhaps because he came through time travel, the cuisine of his original world is far inferior to that here. Living a wandering life with his sister made him cherish good food even more, subtly expressing his longing for his hometown. However, no matter what, these things no longer matter. If you can't go back, just live well in the present. He is doing well, gradually gaining relatives willing to support him, and that is enough. Early the next morning, Ling Xiao left the hotel and headed to the location given by the client. The place was not far, yet had a unique elegance. Close to the city center, yet as quiet as a paradise. This place was suitable for living, with houses simple and elegant, without a trace of gaudiness. Soon, the owner came out to meet him, the very client from yesterday. As he approached, the owner noticed immediately and stepped forward. "You have finally arrived, we have been waiting for a long time." Ling Xiao nodded. "May I see your daughter first?" "Of course, this way." The man led him into a secluded guest room. Obviously, the family regarded this matter as a family shame and wanted to resolve it quietly. Ling Xiao was indifferent to this, only wanting to uncover the truth and find a solution. He had a premonition in his heart that this time he could reveal some secrets and would not regret it. Still some distance from the main gate, he already sensed a strange aura. This aura was imperceptible to ordinary people, only he could sense it through his spiritual power. This was a unique sensitivity brought by his spiritual ability. Strangely, he had rarely seen such a bizarre fluctuation of spiritual power. In this era, spiritual power is nearly extinct, with no one left to inherit it. And the mastermind behind this has obviously cultivated spiritual power to an extremely high level. He can sense the presence of the spiritual power's owner, otherwise, the power would have long since dissipated. The closer Ling Xiaoye gets, the stronger the sensation becomes. He pushes the door open and enters. The room is empty. A thought strikes him, and he quickly retreats. The next second, a fierce impact erupts at the spot. He looks back and sees the girl sitting on the rooftop, looking down at him. Ling Xiaoye sneers. It seems she hasn't lost her mind. She was able to detect the sneak attack from behind. This indicates she still has a clear consciousness, only that her thoughts have been twisted. To clearly retain someone's awareness while controlling their actions, this kind of spiritual power is truly rare. Ling Xiaoye is eager to understand what kind of force can exert such strong control over others. He feels the girl's spiritual power is weak, far inferior to his own, so how can she produce such an effect? She must have used a method he has never seen before. This method arouses great curiosity, and Ling Xiaoye is secretly on guard. When the sage saw this method, he did not find it cruel. Instead, he praised its practicality. Facing stubborn people, it saves cumbersome steps and directly achieves the goal with astonishing efficiency. This time, Ling Xiaoye's strategy was unexpected. He could have easily destroyed the opponent's remaining techniques with brute force, as the opponent's power was far inferior to his. But he chose not to rush to use violence. At least for now, he planned to use clever means to gradually strip away the opponent's techniques, turn them to his own use, and ultimately save the girl. If all else fails, violence remains the last resort, but it is by no means the first choice. After all, directly unleashing force would miss out on many hidden pleasures and precious secrets. Ling Xiao loved exploring the unknown and was fascinated by others' unique skills. Having not encountered such an interesting person for a long time, he immediately became excited and stepped closer to the girl. The girl would never go easy. Seeing Ling Xiao closing in step by step, she was furious, her strength bursting forth as she suddenly lunged at him. Ling Xiao casually blocked, reflecting her charged attack back against the wall. The impact sounded muffled like thunder. The opponent was a 7th Heaven Immortal Realm expert. Though not seriously injured, she was extremely frustrated. After all, few had ever repelled her so easily. Moreover, Ling Xiao was about her age, or even younger, which completely shattered her pride. Her eyes blazed fiercely as she stared fixedly at Ling Xiao, but he ignored her gaze as if analyzing a precious specimen. This enraged the girl, who resolved to take Ling Xiao seriously and launched a desperate, fierce assault. However, Ling Xiao remained unhurried. All her wild moves were effortlessly neutralized without a ripple. Ling Xiao was full of interest, carefully examining every part of her body, searching for any abnormalities. This irritated her immensely. After repeated failed attacks, she gave up on ranged spells and charged at Ling Xiao, attempting close combat. Unbeknownst to her, she had chosen the wrong move. Ling Xiao's physical cultivation was rare in this realm. He had focused on strengthening his body, with a great capacity to bear spiritual power, and his physical strength was enough to cleave stars. As the girl reached him, Ling Xiao easily subdued her, leaving her unable to move an inch or escape. At this moment, he did not harm her but merely restrained her to prevent self-destruction. How could the girl accept being controlled? Her eyes wide with rage, she struggled desperately, trying to break free. She attacked again, but Ling Xiao's confinement was unbreakable, leaving her no room to maneuver. With no other options, Ling Xiao bit down hard with his teeth. The girl felt her teeth hit an unyielding copper wall. Her tender flesh did not move at all. Instead, Ling Xiao's teeth cracked and broke, blood flowing out. He was shocked. Although he had not specialized in physical spiritual power, his body's quality had improved with his spiritual power. His teeth were originally sharp weapons, easily tearing through beast hides, yet they were shattered by this impenetrable flesh. This scene stunned everyone, even the father beside them showed no surprise. Ling Xiao's strength far exceeded imagination. Everything about Ling Xiao was natural and expected. He naturally felt this was normal. The girl before him finally stopped being arrogant and became obedient, as if afraid Ling Xiao might slap her to death. She had become compliant, making Ling Xiao's observation easier. The father beside them was full of astonishment. This was the first time he had seen his daughter so obedient. Previously, although she couldn't defeat her father, she always harassed and troubled him. Her father was powerless to resist and could only endure it. When her harassment didn't go well, she would even harm herself, causing her father even more pain, forcing him to let everything go. Ling Xiao completely ignored these things. He did whatever he wanted, standing firm against the wind and rain, unmoved. Sure enough, this move had some effect on her. Ling Xiao transformed his spiritual power into tentacles, probing deep into her brain. The moment the tentacles touched, her eyes immediately became confused, as if saying, "You can use this move too?" Ling Xiao was struck in his heart and understood. She had indeed suffered a similar attack before. No, it wasn't an attack, but a comforting sensation that made her addicted. The reason she obeyed was to pursue that pleasure. Ling Xiao continued to probe and found her spiritual sea unusually calm, eerily calm. Ordinary people as spiritual seas fluctuate with emotional changes. When fluctuations stop, it means death. But her spiritual sea was like a stagnant pool, only slightly stronger than a dead person's. Ling Xiao grew suspicious. How could such brainwaves support her launching such dense mental attacks? Although the attacks were fierce, they lacked sophisticated techniques. Controlling these attacks required broad and intense brainwave fluctuations. A terrifying suspicion arose in Ling Xiao's heart. Perhaps her brainwaves were heavily suppressed because much of her spiritual power had been taken over by someone else, the master. And she showed no resistance to her body being controlled. Ling Xiao found a breakthrough. Since the other party wanted to control her actions, they must have left more traces in her brain. Even a puppet needs tightly bound ropes on its hands and feet to be fully controlled. Sure enough, at the edge of her mental domain, Ling Xiao discovered thin spiritual tentacles. He stared at these threads and gently probed them. Without causing breakage or alertness, he slowly approached. He tried to judge the location, cultivation, and mental power of the mastermind based on the direction of the threads. The other party was clearly prepared. The threads had very little connection to the main body, almost severed. These threads only mechanically operated based on the master's commands before being cut off, unable to adjust according to the current situation. This also explained why the girl's mental attack level was low. Just now, her shift from ineffective ranged attacks to close combat was already the limit of her flexibility, yet she didn't analyze whether her body was stronger than her opponent's. The same attack also shows that the mastermind behind it does not care about the girl's life or death. Otherwise, even if they wanted to protect her, they would be more cautious. This is also normal. The one controlling her mind has a very bad relationship with her, even a mortal enemy, and would never care about her safety. Ling Xiao assessed the situation, easily dealt with these mental tendrils, but did not immediately erase them. Instead, he withdrew from her mental domain. Turning back, he said calmly to the client, "I have figured out your daughter's situation, but the mastermind behind this has not yet been found. That person is obviously still alive. I can bring her back immediately now, but if you want to find the mastermind..." "Who said that? We can still do more. Now I ask you, which do you choose?" Rage flared in that person's eyes, and he immediately shouted, "Find him. We must find him and tear him to pieces." Ling Xiao nodded coldly, "All right, I respect your decision." That person repeatedly thanked him, "Thank you, thank you. You also know, the fact that he dared to make such a deep enmity with us and pay such a high price was just to hurt my daughter. We will never let him off easily. Please send flowers. If we don't solve this time, next time he will definitely change tactics and come back to torment us again. If we don't catch him, this will never end." Ling Xiao said in a deep voice, "I think so too, but after all, it's your daughter, so the decision is in your hands. Since you have already made your choice, rest assured, I will do my best to help you solve this problem and ensure he falls into your hands for you to deal with." Ling Xiao's words were not empty promises, he had real skills. Although that person had long since severed the mental control line, Ling Xiao was not someone to be trifled with. No matter how many mental threads there are, they must ultimately connect to the main body, and there is a sensory link to follow. Capturing these subtle sensory signals, finding him is only a matter of time. He once again infiltrated the opponent's mind, extracting the mental fine threads without fully withdrawing them, otherwise the opponent would immediately notice and be alerted. Ling Xiao extended his mental tendrils, inserted them into the mental domain, and meticulously searched every trace and clue. Confirm how many mental threads the other party has laid out, and the strength of each thread. Then pick out the thickest few, and mix and refine the rest to sense the other party's spiritual power. Spiritual power attacks are very different from ordinary attacks. Once an ordinary attack is launched, the spiritual power leaves the body and no longer belongs to the user, becoming a force in the world. But spiritual power attacks, even when invading another's soul, come at a cost to the caster. That cost is leaving traces, which may be detected by the opponent, who might even counterattack with their own spiritual power. However, such backlash requires the counterattacker's spiritual power to far exceed that of the attacker. In the past, such backlash moves were common, but now, who fears backlash when cultivating spiritual power? Very few in the world know about spiritual power, let alone anyone stronger than Ling Xiao. Unfortunately, he encountered Ling Xiao, a mythical existence unimaginable anywhere. He was unlucky and had no choice but to admit defeat. Ling Xiao dismantled the spiritual power and grasped the opponent's mental structure. The other party was about 800 years old, an elderly man, clearly holding a deep grudge against their family. That was why he spared no effort to torment their family. The scope was not large, but Ling Xiao was able to investigate quite a bit. After consolidating the gathered information, Ling Xiao stepped out of the mental domain and said to the client, "I have figured out the basic situation of the assailant. He is about 700 or 800 years old and holds a grudge against your family. Casting these curses consumed a huge amount of spiritual power, directly lowering his strength by 1 tier. You'd better recall if, around 800 years ago, you offended any powerful existence. Don't miss any details, and don't hide anything from me. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. His spiritual power is not weak, and I cannot protect you around the clock." Ling Xiao's words carried a warning, pressing the other party to tell the truth quickly so the problem could be solved. He hated beating around the bush, being straightforward was his style. He had no time to guess others' thoughts. If the other party was willing to tell the truth, everything would be resolved. If not, hiding things, he wouldn't trouble himself or waste time. Better to focus on cultivation and improving strength. The man seemed to see through Ling Xiao's thoughts, hesitated for a moment, and finally spoke. "Our family was once prominent, but later someone fell ill with a strange disease. We tried folk remedies and took some crooked paths." The voice grew deeper and weaker. "At that time, desperate and with nowhere to turn, I did things I shouldn't have." Ling Xiao calmly said, "Don't worry, I'm not an impartial judge. I'm not interested in digging up your past. Just tell me the cause, and I can help you solve it." The man continued, "Everyone in the family contracted the backlash disease. Cultivation should have made us stronger, but because we recklessly absorbed spiritual power that wasn't ours, it backfired disastrously. The spiritual power rampaged inside the body, causing unbearable pain, leaving them often powerless. We were at a loss, then someone privately said he had a cure. At first, we didn't believe it, but he really did cure one family member suffering from backlash, and everyone was convinced. He demanded a price, to use the flesh and blood of our children as a medicinal ingredient." The voice weakened, filled with helplessness. Ling Xiao sneered coldly, knowing full well, "You actually had people willing to offer up their children?" "There were those who refused, but we obtained what was needed by other means," the man said bitterly. "And then? This couldn't be kept quiet, the consequences must have been severe?" "Indeed, we settled most with huge compensation, but the rest became enemies. Over 700 or 800 years, there have been many foes. I guess that Avenger is one of them. We were wrong, but powerless to turn back time." Ling Xiao snorted coldly, wanting to flick his sleeve and leave. Those villains would never understand the severity of their evil deeds. The pain never touched them, and they would never feel it. The current commission was an old grudge. A path of revenge involving the innocent. That girl bore a curse. Only killing could ease her bloodlust, but she had yet to kill any family members. Most victims were innocent or criminals from extremely evil places. Ling Xiao's mind was in turmoil. He didn't want to get involved in the conflict any further. He just wanted to cut through the mess quickly and obtain the secret techniques of spiritual cultivation. He planned to first resolve the girl's predicament without harming the Avenger, then contact him afterward to discuss the deal. If that failed, he would find another way. After understanding the situation, Ling Xiao said nothing more. The client saw his disgust and did not press further, only watching quietly. He knew that although Ling Xiao was reluctant to meddle, he was a responsible person. Since he accepted the job, he would see it through. He gave it his all, with no worries. Once the immediate matter was resolved, he and Ling Xiao would have no further ties and would not dwell on it. Such a person was too lazy to make enemies with them. Unable to be friends, but also not enemies, that was the best outcome. Ling Xiao saw through him as a drifter who disliked staying in one place or making meaningless connections. After sorting everything out, he quietly stood in the corner, his eyes flashing with shrewdness and calculation. Ling Xiao grew disgusted, hating scheming people who were even a bit sinister. The other's words revealed they had offended him before, though they didn't know who. Ling Xiao vaguely felt this man might be one of the children they had used as sacrifices. Why hadn't he died? Why had no one cared? Somehow, he had gained some kind of opportunity along the way, cultivated until now, and returned for revenge. But he still seemed immature, perhaps due to lack of guidance and having undergone a baptism by dark forces. His heart twisted. Ling Xiao didn't know how to make him better, only able to accept the current inferior option. If there was a chance, he was willing to lend a hand. Getting no more from the client, Ling Xiao no longer delayed and directly removed the mental tendrils from the girl's brain, regardless of whether it would alert the other party. He tightly grasped those spiritual threads, desperately analyzing the information, locations, and all sorts of clues within. Hard work pays off. He captured useful clues from the remnants of the spirit, reported back to the client, and immediately set off to track down the person who cast the curse. Within the threads of the spirit, a special aura caught his eye that was the emotional residue of the spellcaster. Perhaps due to intense fluctuations during the curse, the spiritual power rendered strong personal information, revealing the location. Normally, such information is extremely difficult to extract, others simply cannot investigate it. Even with spiritual power assistance, few can achieve this. But Ling Xiao was different. He had once obtained the aura of the divine book, containing primordial power capable of analyzing various auras. At this moment, he sensed intense hatred within the aura and delved deeper, faintly perceiving stories and images. Those images revealed the scene and characters, providing Ling Xiao with clues. He immediately used the power of the divine book to carefully distinguish all information in visuals, striving to find the hiding place and confirm the enemy's identity. Even if he couldn't find the person themselves, he could lock onto their contacts, combining the events and the images to follow the trail step by step, closing in. Once the thought formed, Ling Xiao acted immediately. Using the aura of the divine book, he captured more and more images, committing them to memory. Then, he used spiritual power to render a series of scrolls, not paintings, but visual reproductions shaped by spiritual power. He was no art expert, but reproducing with spiritual power was enough to convey the images accurately. Holding these images, he went around asking. After questioning several people in succession, none knew anything. Ling Xiao suspected, could the other party be from another world? Or a remote, uninhabited place? This idea was reasonable after all. The other party had endured hardships since childhood, and the paths they had walked might not be fewer than his. But Ling Xiao would never give up. If he could see it, he could find it. Moreover, he was wealthy beyond measure. Wealth made everything accessible. He didn't need luck, he just posted the bounty on the widest networks, offering a high reward, and waited quietly for news. Sure enough, this tactic worked. He only needed. Within minutes, several people contacted him sincerely, providing possible addresses. Ling Xiao quickly filtered out the most valuable locations and visited them one by one. These places were all remote and far apart, and the search took considerable time. Finally, he pinpointed a key location and prepared to find the people in the images. Finding people was much easier than finding places with the area set and few inhabitants. Asking one person for directions almost always yielded useful information. He pretended to be a relative wanting to visit, and sure enough, he got a clue. Someone told him that person is now staying at Yunlai Hotel, and gave a specific address. Ling Xiao headed there according to the address. Upon arriving at Yunlai Hotel, he thought to himself, this kid is indeed diligent and capable. Yunlai Hotel was large and far more upscale than where he usually stayed. Staying here was expensive, but the kid had turned his fortunes around by strength and even dared to seek revenge. Ling Xiao felt a sense of comfort. He guessed the other party might hate him for ruining his revenge plan, so he concealed his identity, didn't reveal what he had just done, and walked straight to the front desk to inquire about that person's information. The front desk was strict about confidentiality and refused to disclose anything. Ling Xiao remained calm, used spiritual power to confuse the clerk's vision, quietly investigated the needed information, and easily obtained the room number. He took the high-speed elevator straight to the 13th floor and opened the door to room 12. A voice inside questioned, "Who is there?" Ling Xiao smiled and said, "I came to see you." The other party was puzzled. "Who? Go away. No need." The other party firmly refused to open the door, so Ling Xiao simply broke it down. Although the hotel was high-end and well-guarded, it couldn't stop him from easily breaking in. The man sat on the sofa, unshaken by his intrusion, and instead sneered, "I knew you weren't a good person. Just say it, what do you want?" Ling Xiao was surprised by the other's composure. Normally, when someone far stronger suddenly breaks in, people would panic. But this man seemed to completely disregard him, as if unaware that Ling Xiao's strength far exceeded his. Ling Xiao thought this wasn't ignorance of strength, but a complete disregard for his life. He smiled and said, "Although I was a bit rude breaking in, please believe I mean no harm." The man said, "Would someone with no ill intent ignore the owner's wishes and barge into the room?" Ling Xiao countered, if I didn't break in, would you have come looking for me? He smiled, don't be so tense, I mean no harm. Cooperating with me will only bring benefits, no drawbacks. With that, Ling Xiao took out several 17th grade treasures. The other party was clearly shocked, though pretending not to care, his eyes couldn't help but glance at them several times. Ling Xiao knew very well that cultivators were deeply obsessed with high-grade weapons and tools. If strength was based on 5, a suitable weapon could instantly raise it to 20. Not to mention if one found a favorite item, strength could increase even more. This man before him had lived a lonely life and had absolutely no chance to see high-grade weapons. These advanced weapons were not only expensive and rare but mostly obtained through inheritance, special connections, or self-forging. Obviously, he had none of these conditions. Even with money, it was hard to come across such treasures, especially the few Ling Xiao casually pulled out. He didn't know that Ling Xiao carried hundreds of 16th and 17th grade weapons at all times. Please give flowers. Except for the strongest and most commonly used ones, the others. Ling Xiao didn't take those weapons seriously at all, he casually pulled out a few with ease. Seeing the other party hesitate, a cold smile curled at the corner of his mouth, I'm telling the truth. Cooperate with me, and you'll have no problems. As soon as he finished speaking, he took out 2 weapons from his pocket and placed them directly in front of the other party. These 2 are gifts. If you're willing to cooperate, I'll give you all the treasures I have and even help you find a more suitable innate weapon, completely free, as long as you cooperate. He added, just tell me the information you want to know, no cost required. I won't ask embarrassing questions, nor will I spread what you say everywhere, because leaking secrets would weaken my own power. The other party's expression wavered even more, hesitating for a few seconds before finally speaking, what do you want to know? He casually picked up the 2 weapons Ling Xiao had placed on the table, examined them carefully, nodded in satisfaction, and then stuffed them into the storage bag behind him. Ling Xiao smiled, I just took on a commission to help someone break the curse on their daughter. That curse isn't simple, it was cast by a high-level spiritual power cultivator, using a self-created powerful method, with extremely high talent. I traced the clues and found you. Guess what I want to know? The other party snorted coldly, his face darkening, so it really was you. Why did you save them? Don't you know what dirty things they've done? They're not even human. How many shady deals have they done behind the scenes? Why do you help them? As he spoke, he tried to take out 2 weapons from behind him again, clearly protesting, showing that he wasn't going to be bought off with a few broken weapons. Ling Xiao calmly said, don't rush. He handed over all the weapons again, including more than a dozen top-tier 17th rank weapons in his hand. Although I broke the curse, I keep my promises. Once I agree, I must complete it. But I never promised to protect their safety. You can take revenge on them, or even commission me to help you avenge. I won't take a penny, nor will I side with any party. What I want is a partner, a master, a comrade who can spar with me in spiritual power. There are too few people in this world who understand spiritual power. We are the same kind, comrades, and should join hands to dominate and reach the top. Isn't that right? The other party's face deepened in doubt, do you know? It's hard for people to believe you like this. First, you break the opponent's moves, making people think you're from the enemy camp, then you come to make peace and jointly harm former allies. Do you think I'll believe you? Ling Xiao smiled, wrong. I accepted the commission, but that person is not my master. If you don't believe me, I can return the gifts he gave me. I haven't taken a single cent of the reward. I agreed to help only because he was in trouble and needed assistance. I have no idea about the other party's identity or mission. It's okay if you don't believe me. I will prove with actions in the future that cooperating with me is definitely worthwhile and never regrettable. The other party finally nodded, all right, I agree, but don't forget your promise. Ling Xiao said casually, don't worry. The other party said bluntly, what exactly do you want to know? Don't beat around the bush. I'll tell you everything I can. Ling Xiao chuckled, don't worry, I won't make things difficult for you. I want to know how you control others to obey you. I've observed that those people in their family all think you control their minds and reduce their rationality, but I see that their rationality. They are not suppressed by you, on the contrary, they are gently conquered by you and willingly submit to you. I just discovered the secret he carries, and I was attracted by your powerful strength and unique skills, wanting to have an in-depth discussion with you. I just felt that your character seemed flawed, but after learning about what they did, I understood your pain. I greatly admire you for climbing up step by step from loneliness and helplessness, enduring all hardships. We are actually very similar. When I first came to this world, I was just an orphan, relying on my sister. On that broken planet, I couldn't even get into high school. And that principal, disgustingly staring at my sister. I understand and deeply feel that sense of being targeted maliciously by the whole world, being looked down upon. So, whoever doesn't support you, I will stand by your side. We are truly kindred spirits. The person seemed moved by Ling Xiao's words and had to say, actually, setting up the curse isn't difficult. To be precise, it's not a real curse, but I triggered the deepest desires within him. Everyone harbors resentment towards others, no matter how close or familiar. There are always corners in life where even they themselves haven't noticed their own resentment. The first step is to amplify the future frictions and gloom, making them harbor resentment towards the people they are familiar with. When the resentment reaches a certain level, half the battle is won. Next, stir up their desires and see what they truly want. Of course, it's not about actually giving them anything, but guiding them, telling them what to do to achieve their goals. This tactic may not always work, but the key is to make them believe it, planting the seed of psychological suggestion. Then guide them step by step, giving them rewards at each stage, so they gradually believe that listening to you is the best choice. They give up thinking, give up resisting, obey repeatedly, and eventually become your complete subordinates. If you can add spiritual power suggestions, the effect will double. Your spiritual power far surpasses mine. If you take action, success will be effortless. You can experience it yourself, it really works. You can spot him at a glance. You have a good eye and understand this method. Now I know you have broken through the bottleneck, but true cultivation still depends on your own comprehension. I can't teach you everything hand in hand. You have to try everything yourself, explore, understand, got it? Ling Xiao nodded. 827, I understand. I climbed up step by step too. I get what you mean. The man was satisfied. Good that you know. Then he asked, can you start helping me execute the plan? Ling Xiao said, no problem. What do you want them to do? I want them dead, all of them gone, preferably killing each other off, completely erased from this world. Ling Xiao sneered, that thought matches this tactic. But it's not thrilling enough yet. If they kill each other, it won't come from the heart. In this situation, they won't be utterly desperate. They still think the culprit is someone else. With your intervention, they won't even realize it's because the daughter amplified their resentment. They only think you're sinister and vicious, casting a cruel curse, but it won't count as true revenge. The man seemed provoked to think by Ling Xiao's words, then what counts as complete revenge, something that truly breaks their hearts and makes them utterly collapse? Ling Xiao said, simple, stir up the real conflicts between them. These conflicts must arise from themselves, and they must understand the harm is huge and selfish. I of course know what you're saying. But how could they have such contradictions? And how could we catch them in the act? Ling Xiao smiled, you might really not understand. You grew up alone, no one taught you how to face true self. Are you the enemy then? The man lowered his head, his voice low, I'm just a wild child nobody wanted. You have a brother now, I will help you, don't worry. Ling Xiao's voice was firm, his gaze sharp as a cold blade. He returned to the client's home and first returned the items taken from that man. Before the question could be asked, Ling Xiao spoke first, regarding helping your daughter, I have also found the clues I wanted and tracked down the target. I may not be able to fulfill the previous promise to solve the problem. I can't accept this item, so I'm returning it to you first. The man smiled bitterly, how can that be? This is just a meeting gift, not payment. Whether you are willing to help or not, this item should belong to you. As for what you do, we will give you a generous reward. It's okay if the mastermind behind the scenes isn't dealt with. Your original task was to help my daughter lift the condition, no need to be polite. Ling Xiao shook his head, no need, I don't need this thing. Taking it would weigh on my conscience. Seeing his insistence, the other person reluctantly accepted it. Let me know anytime if you need anything. Ling Xiao nodded but said nothing. He had heard too many empty words like this and knew that when real trouble came, these people only said it but did nothing. A few days after leaving, the client's family erupted with a series of unspeakable secrets. Although these events had happened many years ago, they were suddenly exposed, causing endless quarrels among the family. Afterwards, their company, reputation, and financial channels all collapsed, dragging down even the relatives' interests. The whole family fell into a cursed quagmire, desperately trying to save themselves but powerless to turn the tide. The family business declined, their houses were sold off, and the family members scattered. They gained nothing and couldn't find the cause. The client worried himself white-haired. Few things in the cultivation world could cause such anxiety. He pondered repeatedly and felt trapped in one pitfall after another. One trap after another, as if fate had locked him in with no escape. At this moment, Ling Xiao and the young man sat side by side at Yunlai Hotel, eating and drinking, the atmosphere relaxed. The young man turned to Ling Xiao. Thank you, otherwise I would have needed more time to achieve my goal. Ling Xiao smiled. It's nothing, those people deserved their fate, paying the price is only right. The two laughed heartily together. The young man introduced himself. My name is Yun Ting, I hope I can help you in the future. Ling Xiao returned a smile. I'm Ling Xiao. Yun Ting said seriously, I will pass all my skills to you, guaranteeing you learn them all. With your strength and comprehension, you might even surpass me and create your own unique techniques. These words piqued Ling Xiao's curiosity, and he put down his bowl and chopsticks. My own techniques? Yun Ting nodded, exactly. In the early stages of spiritual power cultivation, imitation is necessary, but later on, creation is essential. Only when you create a unique skill based on your strength and characteristics, one that others cannot understand or break through, can you be considered a true spiritual cultivator. A shock ran through Ling Xiao's mind, and he suddenly understood. It turned out that he had never undergone a qualitative change because he had taken the wrong path. In the past, relying only on fragmented manuals and scattered words, practicing alone in hardship, was simply not enough. Cultivation is a continuous process of absorption and imitation. No one told him to innovate, and he had never thought about the possibility of breakthrough. Seeing Ling Xiao's surprise, the man smiled faintly. It seems your cultivation of spiritual power was purely coincidental, without a true master. But the fact that you have reached this level solely through spiritual cultivation surpasses me by far. It shows your talent is extraordinary. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. Not at all, it's your words that surprise me somewhat. A vague doubt stirred in his heart. With the little spirit assisting him fully, why hadn't he it reminded him to create unique techniques? Perhaps even the little spirit hadn't he noticed. He decided to ask the little spirit in detail later, but for now, he would focus on learning from the man before him. To create your own techniques, you must first deeply understand yourself, clarify your goals and needs, so you can craft the strongest and most effective unique skills. Once you have the first, the second and third techniques will follow one after another. The man sneered, enough nonsense, I'll demonstrate my unique skill for you. He conjured countless spiritual tentacles in his hand, which instantly wrapped around the table leg inside the room, causing the leg to writhe as if it were alive. This scene shocked Ling Xiao. Though it seemed simple, its significance was profound. The table is an unconscious inanimate object, extremely difficult to move. This man could control it, implying he could also manipulate other large lifeless objects. In other words, the big blade in an enemy's hand might be turned against them at any moment, used to counterattack and harm the opponent. This power was extremely dangerous. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly as he urgently asked, how did you do it? Yun Ting replied calmly, simple. Inanimate objects have no spirit, but I infused spiritual energy into their bodies, giving them a soul. Then, through suggestion and hypnosis, I made them believe they were living beings, able to move their legs. This theory sounded absurd, yet it was convincing. How could one integrate spiritual energy into lifeless objects, make them accept hypnosis, obey commands, and turn rigid things into flexible ones? Listening to Yun Ting's explanation, Ling Xiao's heart surged with excitement. This highly challenging cultivation method was exactly the breakthrough he longed to test. He focused intently, afraid to miss any detail, fully aware that even a slight mistake could have fatal consequences. Seeing Ling Xiao so absorbed, Yun Ting grew more and more excited as he spoke. This unique secret technique brought unparalleled power, but also loneliness, no one to share it with, no one to communicate. Now, encountering a like-minded ally with whom he could discuss skills freely and exchange information was a rare opportunity. Ling Xiao reflected on Yun Ting's ideas and shared without reservation his own accumulated experiences with spiritual energy and his understanding of the Taoist rhythm. Their exchange sparked even deeper insights. Yun Ting took a deep breath, his eyes flashing with astonishment, never expecting such a marvelous existence. He looked at Ling Xiao, his tone full of admiration. Your comprehension far surpasses ordinary people. You clearly don't know how to create a unique technique, yet unconsciously you have invented an entirely new skill. He continued, as long as you develop these two major concepts, combining insight and improvement, you will surely forge a peerless divine move. When that time comes, facing the world as Tao, you will strike unexpectedly and achieve astonishing results. Ling Xiao understood this truth deeply. In fact, those two moves didn't even need improvement, they had saved his life countless times in numerous battles. Especially in confrontations with the world as Tao, those moves had given him incredible support, even allowing him to defeat the world Taoist consciousness. Although the world Taoist consciousness was limited by the laws of heaven and earth and couldn't attack at full strength, the 830 technique was no ordinary skill to withstand. If Ling Xiao hadn't he been widely skilled, versatile, and adaptable, he would have been suppressed long ago. Every attack from his opponent evolved endlessly, making it difficult for Ling Xiao to respond at times. Those seemingly simple countermeasures were actually miracles that broke through human habitual thinking. To reach such a realm required extraordinary comprehension and strength. Ling Xiao kept recalling the past, eager to share these experiences but never finding the words. Although the two had become friends, they did not fully understand each other. Recklessly revealing too much was not only unhelpful but could even invite betrayal. Even if the person before him had no intention of leaking secrets, it was difficult to guard against others secretly spying. The most profound lesson Ling Xiao had learned along the way was that vigilance was a weapon. No matter how others viewed it, maintaining caution was the way to survive. He understood that protecting oneself and thinking twice before acting was the true path. He did not disclose secrets, but he actively promoted interaction on topics that could be discussed, maximizing the enhancement of his own strength. He candidly shared his initial insights when first entering the path, his growth process, and the unique effects of techniques in actual combat. Yun Ting listened with increasingly bright eyes, clearly very interested in Ling Xiao's experiences. The sparks ignited between two like-minded people were exhilarating. Ling Xiao also learned a lot from Yun Ting. He discovered that Yun Ting's thinking could not only issue commands in others' minds but also gradually increase their dependence on him while maintaining their beliefs, winning their wholehearted trust. Even more astonishingly, he could hypnotize opponents into believing they were weak, turning them into their own protectors. He could even subtly manipulate the opponent as subconscious through mental suggestion. These seemingly trivial actions, if used properly, could unleash incredible power. Ling Xiao greatly admired the value of these techniques. Although he knew he might not fully master them, he remained grateful. From this, he expanded his understanding of spiritual power. It far exceeded his previous knowledge, possessing infinite potential in many areas he had never thought of or touched before. With this direction, the path of cultivation became broader, and facing others' techniques would become more effortless. He kept Yun Ting's words in mind, savoring them carefully and absorbing their essence. The two shared similar interests and had a lively conversation. Yun Ting marveled at Ling Xiao's skills, and Ling Xiao admired Yun Ting's wisdom. Afterward, they entered a state of comprehension and cultivation together. This state was extremely rare, requiring seizing subtle opportunities, grasping simple yet profound guidance, combining it with personal understanding, and breaking down and absorbing new knowledge. This encounter would undoubtedly cause their strength to soar rapidly. Ling Xiao was grateful for this experience. In the fantasy world, he continuously broke through limits, improved himself, and gained a deeper understanding of the wonders of spiritual power. If spiritual power were a lump of clay, he would eventually shape it into an unparalleled form. All power originates from the will of the master. The master's preferences, the master's skills determine how colors are pieced together, how the picture is composed, how thoughts flow, and the speed of learning. Ling Xiao was unmatched in the concepts of composition and synthesis. His spiritual power was like a lump of clay that kept expanding. The amount of clay in his hands was unrivaled, and even more astonishing was its recovery speed, so fast that Ling Xiao's control could barely keep up with the replenishment pace. Even without deliberate cultivation, his strength would unconsciously continue to climb, continuously enhancing every technique and every target. The opponents across from him had far less accumulation of primal power and very few chances to make mistakes, but relying on rich experience and strong training ability, they pieced together each attempt into the most perfect form, creating the combat style best suited to themselves. The two exchanged moves back and forth, complementing each other. Ling Xiao taught him techniques, and he helped Ling Xiao accumulate spiritual power. A win-win cooperation, climbing together to the peak of spiritual power cultivation. During this period, Ling Xiao's cultivation speed was astonishing. He began to doubt whether his solitary path of cultivation was correct. Perhaps he should find a like-minded partner with a matching pace to progress together. But soon, he abandoned this thought. It was not that he rejected others, but no one could keep up with his pace. Former peers had all fallen behind. The exceptionally talented opponent before him had remained at the same level for 800 years, still not reaching Ling Xiao's current realm. Ling Xiao knew that once he advanced further, he would no longer be able to guide the other. Cooperation would then be only a reluctant assistance, with neither able to provide the most fitting support. The real contradiction was not Ling Xiao's solitary journey, but that no one could start alongside him and leap forward together. This was his lonely journey, an unchangeable solitary battle. No one could keep up with his pace. Although there was support ahead, the communication was brief. The other party considered themselves noble and was unwilling to offer much help. Once Ling Xiao surpassed them, he would no longer need assistance. Moreover, Ling Xiao had no rivals left, unless he chose cultivation fields he had not yet valued, but those were not his focus at all. He took a deep breath and calmed his mind to cultivate. Spiritual power surged into his body like a tide, flowing and transforming, eventually converging within him. His strength increased, still obedient to him, supporting every struggle and helping him achieve all his goals. Ling Xiao stood up contentedly, his body and mind refreshed. This was the charm of cultivating spiritual power. This power not only enhanced combat ability but also purified the mind, sharpened thinking, doubled efficiency, and strengthened the physique, becoming a powerful aid. Spiritual power could not only attack but also constantly assist oneself. Ling Xiao marveled at this wonderful feeling. Recalling the secret techniques he had learned, he suddenly understood, his gaze deeper than before. He sighed inwardly, cultivating spiritual power was truly immensely beneficial. Even if he did not rely on it for combat in the future, cultivation would be much easier. Hu Wen-ti liked to always have the perfect tool. Ling Xiao was no exception. He felt the power and thought about how to help Yun Ting, sharing the best ways to utilize it. Looking up, Yun Ting was still immersed in training, his brows furrowed, focused as ever. Ling Xiao did not disturb him and quietly got up, leaving the small training room. Although this place was not as spacious as his original hotel, it was sufficient for training needs, requiring no extra practice. Ling Xiao's martial prowess was outstanding, so he had no need for extra precautions. As for protection, he and the highly skilled Yun Ting in spiritual techniques easily handled it. This place fully met his needs. At this moment, Ling Xiao couldn't help but clench his fists, wanting to have a good fight. He felt his mind exceptionally clear, able to precisely sense every bit of power within his body. Having not exercised for a long time, his body was restless, eager to hone his strength. But he knew that in this densely built area, if he was not careful, he could easily damage the surroundings and cause trouble. So, he decided to return to the hotel's training room first, to calmly release this restlessness. Ling Xiao exhaled and returned to the training room, watching Yun Ting's cultivation state. He was secretly anxious. Why hasn't he woken up yet? Could it be that he's hit a bottleneck in his cultivation? Normally, if everything goes smoothly, cultivation ends quickly. If it drags on, it often means great difficulties, or even the risk of going astray. He held Yun Ting in very high regard, considering him a close friend. If the other party fell into crisis, he absolutely could not stand by and do nothing, or the consequences would be severe. Ling Xiao waited silently. Soon, Yun Ting's spiritual aura began to become restless. For the first time, Ling Xiao witnessed the disorder of spiritual energy and instinctively took action, sending his spiritual power deep into Yun Ting's mind. He saw that Yun Ting's spiritual tendrils were tangled into a chaotic mess, like a dead knot, difficult to unravel. Helpless, he could only patiently and carefully untangle it. The spiritual tendrils were far less dexterous than fingers, and the tangled knots were extremely hard to undo. More importantly, the spiritual tendrils were directly connected to the other's consciousness. Any operational mistake could easily cause irreversible damage. At best, it could cause mental dullness, at worst, instant death, or even turning into a walking corpse. Ling Xiao proceeded cautiously, unraveling strand by strand, expending a great deal of energy. Fortunately, his spiritual cultivation was solid, but the details were tedious, and a single slip could cause errors. After 2 hours, he finally cleared Yun Ting's spiritual threads. Yun Ting's complexion gradually improved, and Ling Xiao finally breathed a sigh of relief, withdrawing his spiritual power. Covered in sweat, the spiritual cleansing and clearing was extremely difficult, and he was exhausted. But this experience also elevated Ling Xiao's mental control to an unprecedented level of precision. He was secretly pleased, finally having found a breakthrough to improve control over the mental realm. Yun Ting woke up and said gratefully, "Luckily you were here, otherwise something serious might have happened." Ling Xiao smiled and replied, "It's nothing, actually you helped me by giving me the chance to practice precise control." Yun Ting squinted and said, "I hope you won't get such opportunities again in the future." I'm not that lucky," Ling Xiao said. After this extreme mental exhaustion, neither of them felt like talking much, especially Yun Ting. At this moment, Ling Xiao realized that the habit of using sleep to relieve fatigue in the cultivation world was not unique to him. Yun Ting smiled and said, "When you reach the peak state of cultivation, sleep is the most primitive and instinctive way to recover. This kind of restoration leaves no aftereffects, no reactions, and no side effects." These simple words suddenly enlightened Ling Xiao. He had always thought sleeping was just a small habit, but unexpectedly, it paved the way for his cultivation. Shu Wen asked, "How do you know the secret of mental cultivation at its peak?" Yun Ting smiled confidently, "It's simple. I was fortunate enough to witness that glorious era with my own eyes. I have seen those top-tier mental spiritual techniques. It was not just cultivation, but a relic of another ancient civilization. As he spoke, his gaze fixed on the distance, as if traveling through time and recalling the magnificent past. Ling Xiao nodded, I believe you. He had experienced time travel, endured storms, and even took on 2 disciples who were decades older than himself. Those 2 later became legendary strong figures in history, rewriting the course of the era. Some things seem distant but can suddenly arrive. No matter how incredible, once they happen, they cannot be reversed. Those who have experienced them do not necessarily regret it. Ling Xiao was like that. That period of suffering almost made him lost forever, but he was grateful for those hardships. Without them, he wouldn't have his 2 disciples now, nor those unforgettable experiences, and he might have inadvertently changed history, causing those 2 to disappear from the world. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao's heart tightened, only wishing the delicate balance could be maintained in the future. Perhaps now was the best time. He deeply understood that no matter how strong the power or how distant the future, one must cherish the present. Keeping one's feet on the ground is the right path. It sounds simple but is hard to do, and very few can truly achieve it. The 2 talked happily, and a few days later, Ling Xiao said goodbye. The path can only be walked alone, friends are made, but there is no need to be together every day. Ling Xiao had many secrets. Though he was not afraid of others knowing, he could not blindly trust. One must not harbor ill intentions, but must also guard against others. No one knows another's thoughts, and who can guarantee that a newly met person is sincere? If we can become friends, it would be a great joy for all. If not, the consequences are unpredictable. Friends need to maintain distance and calmness. Ling Xiao returned to his own world and went back to the hotel. The information accumulated over the past few days was enough for him to digest for a long time. He headed straight to the training room. Although this place was not suitable for spiritual power cultivation, it was perfect for his new attempt. Cultivation mostly involves controlling unconscious inanimate objects, but Ling Xiao's recent practice was different. He wanted to try controlling these lifeless things. Once he could communicate and control them, he would be able to cross a new level and fulfill his heart's desire. If he had mastered these skills earlier, resurrecting Yuhong might not have been so difficult. He tried again and again, feeling this extraordinary power. Though difficult, it was full of hope. As Yun Ting said, his unique skill was hard for others to crack or imitate. At this moment, Ling Xiao was at a breakthrough point, but he firmly believed he could succeed. His confidence came from strength. Spiritual power was inexhaustible. The more he used it, the stronger it became, like capital compounding interest, accumulating more and more. After repeated failures, Ling Xiao was not discouraged and continued with the 2nd, 3rd, 5th attempt. Success was only a matter of time. What he had was endless time and room for growth. For now, his opponents could not harm him. Though the heavenly Tao consciousness was strong, it was limited and its strength fixed without increase. But he kept improving and challenging himself, growing stronger each time. When his strength was not as good as today, he could still survive attacks. Now, as he climbed step by step, his chances of winning only grew greater. His confidence was not empty talk, it was fully supported by real strength. In the training room, Ling Xiao kept trying. Ling Xiao continuously activated his spiritual power, attempting to establish a connection with everything in the training room, not even sparing the cold, hard walls. He tried hard to respond and merge, but there was no response at all. Fatigue and frustration quickly surged in his heart. Suddenly, he changed his approach. Maybe he had chosen the wrong target. The things in the training room were too advanced and heavily defended, difficult to break through. Why not start with the simplest? Those ordinary tables, chairs, and stools had simple structures and were easy to perceive. He left the training room and went to the main hall dining area. The view suddenly opened up, and a dazzling array of items came into sight. The public dining room had a variety of things, each with its own characteristics, perfect for practice. He selected the flowers in the vase on the table. Although they had been picked and their life was gone, they had not completely withered and were still struggling faintly. This greatly reduced the difficulty of the practice. Ling Xiao summoned his spiritual power and gently touched the flower. In an instant, he felt a mysterious force rise from his heart, as if he and the flower had become one, their souls connected. The flower seemed to come alive, stirring vividly in his senses. Ling Xiao sensed the flower's emotions, on the brink of withering, yet desperately struggling, yearning to continue existing. The broken branch still tried to absorb water from the vase. Its desire to live was deeply moving. This simple flower displayed the resilience and struggle of life, making Ling Xiao realize the world was far richer than he had imagined. He understood he needed to go out more, observe, and explore more unknown corners. He tried to connect with the nearby table, but it was completely different. The table and chairs were lifeless, utterly dead objects, without a trace of movement. Following instructions, he infused them with spiritual power, attempting to replace their consciousness with his own spirit, hypnotizing them to believe they were still alive and could act. Though he could evoke some resonance, he couldn't control their movement. Ling Xiao was not discouraged after all. This was just the beginning, and there was still plenty of time. He firmly believed that one day he would easily master everything, perceiving the consciousness and thoughts of every object, making them serve him. Returning to the flower, he slowly infused it with spiritual energy, thread by thread, steady and unhurried, afraid that too much at once might crush the flower's remaining life. Suddenly, the flower's leaves trembled lightly though faint. It was a sign of success. Hope ignited in Ling Xiao's heart, and he continued his efforts. After a moment, a flower actually jumped out of the vase. If it had been an ordinary person, they would have been scared out of their wits. Although there were cultivation experts here, no one had ever seen such a strange scene. After all, no flowers, grass, or trees here could cultivate into spirits. The sight was extremely abnormal. Ling Xiao saw a group of high-level cultivators staring intently at an ordinary flower. The flower hopped and swayed its leaves, both comical and eerie. Only Ling Xiao found it amusing, quietly controlling the flower's movements from a corner. Others watched warily whenever the flower approached. People would dodge in advance, their expressions guarded. Ling Xiao found the scene absurd yet entertaining, so he let the flower run wild around the courtyard, teasing these experts. Despite their vigilance and extraordinary cultivation, they were powerless to catch a single flower. Soon, one person couldn't hold back, waved his hand, and struck fiercely. Then, the flower instantly turned into a puddle of mush, collapsing weakly on the ground. Although Ling Xiao had infused it with a trace of spiritual energy, it was still just a flower and could not withstand such a powerful spiritual strike. Not a speck of powder remained. It dissipated directly into the air. Yet that eerie aura lingered like a restless ghost, haunting everyone's minds. What is that? How did it suddenly appear? The crowd began to stir. I don't know either. Where's the person in charge? Quick, call the hotel manager out to explain. How could this possibly happen? Amid the noisy clamor, Ling Xiao remained completely silent, quietly slipping away, paying no attention to the chaos before him. He had already obtained the answer he wanted and sensed the core secret of spiritual power manipulation. There was no need to stay here and keep observing. If it was discovered to be his doing, it would cause big trouble. His room was on a high floor, far from the noise, and even the intense sounds of fighting couldn't reach inside. This hotel charged expensive fees but was perfectly equipped, an ultimate enjoyment Ling Xiao had never experienced in his life. Because of this, many people chose to live here long term, even giving up buying houses just to enjoy the unbeatable cultivation environment. If Ling Xiao stayed in this realm for a long time, this place would definitely be his first choice. Moreover, the hotel promised him free access. How could he refuse the joy of freeloading? Just as he sat down, a gentle knock came from outside the door. Opening it revealed a waiter who bowed respectfully and said, "Sir, sorry to disturb you. There was an abnormal incident at the hotel today. We deeply apologize and wish to offer compensation. You may make a reasonable small request, and we will do our best to fulfill it." The explanation sounded reasonable on the surface, but Ling Xiao keenly detected something unusual. Why personally knock on the door to notify? It disturbed guests and was highly inefficient. Even stranger, there was no specific compensation amount. Instead, guests were asked to propose requests, which was extremely odd. He silently stared at the waiter, who was pressed into an awkward smile and said, "Sir, what would you like? Please feel free to say." Ling Xiao said coldly, "No need, you may leave." The attendant still wanted to say more, but the door was slammed shut heavily by him. His guess was indeed correct. There were hidden talents here, and someone must have noticed his unusual movements. The so-called compensation was merely to appease him and prevent the situation from escalating. But if they truly rewarded him, it would be equivalent to encouraging such behavior, inevitably causing more trouble. Therefore, such small favors were not within his consideration. Unexpectedly, the door knocked again shortly afterward. This time, the person standing at the door was no longer the attendant but a middle-aged man in a suit, smiling kindly. Though appearing to be in his 30s or 40s, this was the most untrustworthy disguise in the cultivation world. Some people could use spiritual power to freely change their appearance or maintain a youthful look for decades. Just like Yu Hong and Ling Bai, who had gone through several eras and still remained extraordinarily elegant. The man spoke, "Hello, sorry for the inconvenience today. The store manager specially wants to have a face-to-face talk with you. Are you available now?" Ling Xiao said indifferently, I still need to cultivate. The store manager has come personally, so you don't need to go. Ling Xiao smiled slightly and said, You. Are you the store manager? The man nodded, yes. Ling Xiao smiled lightly, pushed the door open, and said, Speak, what is it? Today, a strange phenomenon appeared in the first floor restaurant, attracting a lot of attention and causing us trouble. Ling Xiao frowned slightly, You suspect I tampered with something? Yes. But please understand, we bear no hostility. You likely have no intention of harming anyone, and that flower looks quite ordinary. We conduct strict security checks at the hotel every day to ensure everything is normal. But this time the situation is special and must be investigated. We have discovered some unusual clues. Ling Xiao chuckled lightly, Your abilities are indeed extraordinary. So, what do you want me to do? The man stood up, speaking solemnly, Sir, since you can control plants, could you help us deal with a dangerous plant? A dangerous plant? Ling Xiao was startled, secretly amused. Could it be a man-eating flower? Or the pea cannon and little chili pepper? He fixed his gaze on the other party, who wore a serious expression, not allowing any joking. So, we have come to seek help. That plant has troubled us for a long time, right behind the hotel. It suddenly erupted, causing huge chaos and severely affecting the hotel's business. We are not just here to make money, more importantly, we serve top-tier elites, stabilize our position, and ensure cash flow. Ling Xiao listened thoughtfully, but since he had no experience in business or politics and was used to cultivating alone, he was more curious about the true nature of that dangerous plant. What kind of plant is it? Why is it dangerous? It is a giant vine, initially ordinary and unremarkable, but it suddenly mutated and secretly attacks those who approach. Many were unprepared and were easily devoured. Someone provides it with nutrients, and it grows rapidly, its power now beyond our control. Ling Xiao was curious, so you can't handle it because it's very strong? The man shook his head, if it were just brute force, we wouldn't fear it. The problem is the abnormal reactions it causes. Anyone who approaches it feels extreme fear, then falls into excitement, actively approaching it and becoming its nourishment. We cannot eradicate it, only seal off the surrounding area, trying to limit its growth. But this is almost ineffective. It continues to slowly grow stronger, making our barrier weaker day by day. Now we are extremely anxious, inviting strong experts from all directions to settle in, providing quality service, hoping to meet a hero capable of solving this problem. We sensed your extraordinary strength, especially your unmatched mental power. We hope you can take on this task. We will offer generous rewards and guarantee you won't regret it. Ling Xiao was silent, picked up his wineglass, gently swirled it, and slowly drank. After a moment of silence, the other party felt awkward, unsure whether he would agree. Finally, he looked up and said calmly, I need to think about this. You can go back for now. Go, notify the staff whenever there is something, Ling Xiao said coldly, his gaze sharp like a hawk. The man immediately bowed and responded, Understood. When you have made your decision, just find the staff at any time, and we will convey your orders immediately. After seeing him off, Ling Xiao lightly touched the wineglass with his finger, gently swirling it, his eyes deep, then he opened his attribute panel. Name, Ling Xiao. Repair count, 117. Martial Realm, Immortal Realm, 6th Heaven. Soul Realm, Immortal Realm, 10th Layer with Tao Rhythm Blessing. Vitality, 910 to the power of 22 kg 1 point equals 310 to the power of 18 kg Strength. Soul, 810 to the power of 22. Secondary Profession Grand Master, 10 type 17th rank, medium grade, 050 Jing, legendary level. Skill Weapon Master, Triple Tao Principle, multiplier 1.510 to the power of 1, cultivated 0110 to the power of 13 times. Law Cultivation, 3000 limit domain, 480 types. Talent, Undying Divine Body Immortal level, combat power increased by 5000%. Human Emperor Body Heavenly Tao level, combat power increased by 10 to the power of 11 times. Void Dragon Body Immortal level, physical body enhanced 2048 times. Creation Power 17th rank, Supreme grade, contains 2999 types of power. Cultivation Techniques, Will of the Gods Heavenly Tao level, 17th rank fragmented 50,000 times. Demon God Nirvana 17th rank, lower grade. Frenzied Absorption 17th rank, lower grade. Law of Heaven and Earth 17th rank, medium grade, 1000 times. Genesis Divine Scripture 18th rank, lower grade. Consciousness Fission 17th rank, lower grade, 5000 times. Mental Cultivation Beginner's Manual 17th rank, lower grade, 5000 times. Beginner Mental Attack Supporting Technique 17th rank, lower grade, 5000x. 100 Methods to Forge Mental Attack Devices 17th rank, lower grade, 5000x. Advanced Formation Cultivation 17th Rank Lower Grade 5000x. Illusory Realm Grand Formation Material Deception 17th Rank Lower Grade 5000x. Martial Skill Death Spear Technique 17th Rank Middle Grade 400x. World Ending Light 17th Rank Lower Grade 300x. Teleportation 17th Rank Lower Grade 200x. Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th Rank Lower Grade 200x. Demonic Energy and Demonic Martial Analysis 17th Rank Middle Grade 400x. Soul Dance 15th Rank Lower Grade 300x. Dark Poem of Sorrow 16th Rank Middle Grade 400x. Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence 15th Rank Lower Grade 400x. Falling Flowers Early 14th Rank Lower Grade 300x. Prajnaparamita Sutra 14th Rank Peak 500x. Equipment Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th Rank Middle Grade. Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th Rank Middle Grade. Angel Wings 17th Rank Lower Grade. Black Star Stone King Unknown, above 17th rank. Demon Subduing Wave 16th Rank Middle Grade. Soul Summoning Sail 17th Rank Lower Grade. Ingtian Spirit Peak of 17th rank. Diamond Bracelet Lower Grade of 15th rank. Natural Intent Upper Grade of 16th rank. Martial Soul Chariot Upper Grade of 15th rank. Buddha Light Pearl Upper Grade of 17th rank. Mental Gold Ingot Peak of 16th rank. Lihua Jade Purifying Bottle Upper Grade of 15th rank. Glazed Forest Light Beginning Middle Grade of 16th rank. Jadeite Spirit Gathering Bowl Lower Grade of 17th rank. Floating Light Music Theory Brocade Middle Grade of 15th rank. Lansong Jade Bone Fan Middle Grade of 17th rank. Hibiscus Jadeite Stone Upper Grade of 17th rank. Jade Butterfly Ancient Gold Seal Middle Grade of 17th rank. Hemlock Wood Physical System Cultivation Method. Neat Flostian Upper Grade of 17th rank, rapidly restores a large amount of strength when weak. Echo Ring Upper Grade of 17th rank, simulates the pressure of cultivators 2 realms higher. Soul Pavilion Upper Grade of 17th rank. Physical Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm 3rd layer. Ultimate Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm 4th layer. Ling Xiao calmly scanned these data on the surface, there was no major change. Recently, he had focused on spiritual power and skill study, causing his chi and blood accumulation to slow down, also due to the reduced efficiency in cultivation growth at the immortal realm. Fingers tapped the table, the rhythm clear, his mind gradually steadying. 837. He murmured softly, thoughts beginning to stir. He realized that the backward star systems were actually more stable. Those superficially prosperous planets concealed countless hidden evils. After several days of observation, he had encountered them multiple times. He didn't care in this world, he was merely a passerby. When someone sought help, he only needed to give an order. The rest of the conflicts were none of his concern. Carefully pondering, he had no intention of refusing when facing monsters. The reason was simple, just like him. Every time he took action, it brought unexpected results. Since that was the case, he was more than willing to help without hesitation, full of confidence and assurance. He firmly believed there was no problem that couldn't be solved. This intuition had never failed him. Even if the final outcome differed from the client's expectations, every time it achieved his own goal. Ling Xiao was not a savior and didn't need to clear obstacles for everyone. Accept the commission, complete the task, and the responsibility was done. Last time, he didn't even take a penny, it was voluntary work. Lost in these thoughts, a faint sound suddenly came from behind. No one else noticed, but only Ling Xiao, relying on his extraordinary mental power, caught that trace of abnormality. The sound gradually grew louder, brazen and unrestrained, as if deliberately meant to be discovered, carrying some purpose. Ling Xiao instantly recalled the words of the man from earlier, confirming this was the target location, his interest sharply piqued. Without contacting anyone, he left the hotel directly. The closer he got, the stronger the fluctuations became. The hotel's defenses were incredibly tight, no one but him noticed anything unusual, which only increased Ling Xiao's curiosity as he silently approached. Through the barrier, he felt a surge of anger, a desperate desire to break free from restraint. Clearly, the creature inside was ravenous, craving prey. The isolation was well done, the prey had not entered, which only provoked its agitation. But obviously, though it raged and resisted, it had not gone all out. The barrier was solid, no danger in the short term. Yet this resistance indicated the danger should not be underestimated. Ling Xiao was unfazed, thinking the truth would be known upon meeting. Losing composure before seeing the enemy would be the height of foolishness. He carefully studied the fluctuation frequency, grasped the pattern, then turned and left. Now was not the time to act. Without negotiating and reaching an agreement with the other party, a rash attack would only cause chaos. No need to be impatient, the day to resolve this would come sooner or later. The client was the one more anxious. Back at the hotel, Ling Xiao took no rest and headed straight to the training room to practice punching. Excitement surged in his heart. The recent fluctuations told him that the opponent was not only mentally strong but also formidable in size and strength. He had not practiced these boxing techniques for a long time, and now he finally had the chance to unleash them freely. The mental fluctuations suggested the opponent was massive, and vine-like physical attacks would bring trouble. He couldn't rely on mental preparation alone, his fists and feet also needed honing. He threw punches while sensing the surrounding fluctuations. With the advancement of his boxing skills, the explosive sounds when he punched had lessened, and the energy was more concentrated in the strikes of his fists. The wall trembled violently from the force of his punches, with obvious internal energy fluctuations. This was under Ling Xiao's deliberate suppression, not a full-force explosion, otherwise, the wall would have already collapsed. He controlled the energy, causing most of it to self-explode before his fist hit the wall, and the remaining attack still shook the structure. If the wall's material were not advanced and energy-rich, it would have long failed to hold. With each punch thrown, Ling Xiao felt a long-lost sense of stability. Though he had seen countless techniques and powers, his favorite was still the direct sensation of fist striking flesh. Only in this way could strength and emotion be fully vented, with eruption and resistance intertwined, and energy collisions sparking wildly. This was the most primal fighting instinct. Although spiritual power was advanced and unique, it lacked this kind of destructive thrill and madness. Only the exhilarating, sweat-drenched joy in boxing could bring him peace of mind, wondrous and real. He continued throwing punches, feeling the call of power and the calm within his heart. Those who refine their bodies have long been rare, but Ling Xiao pressed forward relentlessly, his passion as strong as ever. For him, cultivation was not just about accumulating numbers, but the rhythm of life itself. His cultivation had long reached the pinnacle. Why would he fuss over a little bit of time? He lived freely, never suppressing himself. His fist struck out with full force, and Ling Xiao decisively activated the system prompt. Ding. 1 minute of cultivation, physical energy surged by 1,568.1 billion. Spiritual power merging. The voice echoed repeatedly, like the beating of war drums, spiritual power surging wildly, his body as tough as steel. Every prompt was proof of his explosive strength increase and an expression of his physical and mental exhilaration. Time flew by, the night deepened, and Ling Xiao finally stopped, ready to rest well. Only with abundant energy could he achieve more shocking cultivation results. Just as he was about to relax, a sudden knock at the door shattered the silence. Ling Xiao opened the door with suspicion. The shop owner looked anxious. Sorry to disturb you at this hour. The rear barrier is malfunctioning and barely holding. If not repaired in time, the consequences will be severe. We hope you can go tonight and preferably fix it before tomorrow. Ling Xiao understood clearly a late-night visit was no idle chat. Although he had planned to set out tomorrow, there was no turning back now. Who in the cultivation world feared staying up late? Refusing would only seem cold. All right, let me change clothes and I'll leave immediately, he replied calmly. The shop owner sighed in relief. Thank you. I'll wait for you in the hall. After a brief moment to prepare, Ling Xiao set off. Although someone was guiding him, he had already secretly figured out the route. The vines were enormous, weighing 200 tons and covering 100 miles, but to him, they were nothing. Especially since he had already attuned to plants, making his killing moves hard to hide. The closer he got, the more obvious the anomaly. During the day, the barrier trembled violently, but now a strong aura was leaking out. It was a sign of a crack and the barrier danger was approaching. Though small, the crack was rapidly expanding. The spiritual energy leaking was unusually dense. If it fully collapsed, it would cause a massive upheaval. Although many experts were stationed here, there were also innocent servers whose strength was inferior and unable to withstand the fluctuations. Ling Xiao frowned tightly, knowing a tough battle was inevitable. People arrived. They barely held back the aura, clearly struggling. Ling Xiao suddenly realized this was the opponent's setup, and he did not resist it. He turned to the anxious crowd and said coldly, "Don't panic, leave it to me." Before his words finished, Ling Xiao stepped swiftly toward the source of the sensed aura, determined to enter first, seal the entrance, and then wipe out the monsters inside in one fell swoop. This move would solve the problem once and for all, cutting off future troubles. Seeing his decisiveness, the shop owner felt a heavy weight lift from his heart. The aura kept leaking outward, making the source easy to find. The crack had opened wide enough for him to pass through alone. He led the way, instantly forming a barrier woven from space and time elements around his body to ensure absolute safety. After confirming safety, he observed freely, then reinforced the crack with a double spatial barrier, completely sealing the entrance before venturing deeper alone. After only a few steps, a massive vine suddenly swung from ahead. If not for Ling Xiao's agile figure, he would have been smashed to pieces. He sneered coldly, his tone arrogant. Want to kill me? First recognize the vastness of heaven and earth. Having not encountered such arrogant provocation for a long time, Ling Xiao chuckled inwardly. The vine before him was clearly just awakened, mistakenly taking him for nourishment. Its confidence came from the control of spiritual energy, luring the strong into a trap. Sure enough, within moments, a sweet and cloying fragrance filled the air, striking the nerves and causing disorientation. Ling Xiao activated his spiritual power, a cold sensation piercing through his body, instantly clearing his mind. Seeing its scheme fail, the vine's anger intensified, its spiritual fluctuations growing stronger, but Ling Xiao remained unshaken, easily dispelling them. Burning with rage, the vine wildly extended its tendrils, striking fiercely in overwhelming numbers. The sky suddenly darkened, stars hidden, as if a black curtain pressed down. Ling Xiao remained as steady as a rock, spatial and temporal spiritual forces intertwining around him to form an indestructible barrier. The tendrils struck down, suddenly breaking with a strange crisp sound. That was the hardness of the spiritual barrier. The vine felt sharp pain and quickly retracted the broken tendrils. But the severed limbs remained, unable to regenerate. The vine's fury surged again, extending even more tendrils for a frenzied assault. However, how could Ling Xiao be an opponent for a mere mortal thing? He sneered coldly, mocking the brainless vine for its ignorance. This anger revealed its weakness. Intellect and spiritual power were mismatched. Ling Xiao smiled inwardly, casually releasing spiritual power, preparing to counterattack. He could have crushed the opponent directly with spiritual power, but he enjoyed the thrill of using magic to defeat magic even more. Spiritual power condensed in his heart, suddenly erupting with a strong wave, forcing the vine to immediately withdraw. This brainless plant finally realized that the person before it was no ordinary being. It had once underestimated Ling Xiao, mistakenly thinking he was just an ordinary human, small in stature and with a mediocre aura. Little did it know that the limits of humans are hidden in their restraint. All their energy is released outward, and they never show weakness easily. He sensed its true nature. This logic was completely different from that of ordinary plants and animals. In their eyes, strength is strength, never concealed. Even if they lack strength, they must pretend to have it to scare off enemies. Ling Xiao was clearly an anomaly. The other party instinctively regarded him as weak, a soft target easily crushed, but did not expect to face a tough battle. He instantly regretted it, wanting to flee, but couldn't. He was a plant, with roots deeply embedded in the earth, unable to move an inch. Ling Xiao gave him no chance to escape, quickly extending his consciousness into the tentacles, channeling spiritual power along the vine straight to the core seed. The moment the tentacle was touched by Ling Xiao, it immediately lost control, as if about to break free from his grasp and become Ling Xiao's weapon the next second. Fear instantly engulfed him. His response was simple and crude: escape. He launched all his power, trying to shake off this dangerous presence or drive Ling Xiao away. But the effort was in vain. He realized that escape was almost impossible. A direct confrontation was inevitable, but the odds of victory were nearly zero. Ling Xiao took the initiative to attack, and the vines could only meet force with force. The opponent's moves charged straight at Ling Xiao, as if he had struck first. The battle erupted, destined to decide the victor. A surge of anger rose within the vines, a fearless explosion compressed from the peak of fear, mixed with rage at its own shortcomings. He used the vines he could still control to approach Ling Xiao. The out-of-control vines broke off and no longer interfered with the attack. He concentrated all his strength, preparing for the next wave of assault. Ling Xiao sneered coldly, "Looks like you're not stupid to the extreme. You know to concentrate all your strength to counterattack me. But even so, you can't win." He smiled lightly and withdrew his spiritual power. He had already cut off nearly 30% of the opponent's vines, making the next phase of the battle much easier. Having played enough with spiritual power, it was time to get serious. After withdrawing all his spiritual power, his aura weakened, and the vines rejoiced, thinking Ling Xiao had exhausted his strength. The opponent didn't think further, nor did he want to. He was eager to take advantage of the moment to eliminate Ling Xiao and quickly remove the thorn in his side. Ling Xiao saw through his childish thoughts and didn't take them seriously at all. If such brainless and powerless things could be considered opponents, that would truly be embarrassing. He watched as the other grew more excited, the tentacles wildly swinging, the tallest one stretching beyond the horizon, densely covering the sky and blocking out the sun. The visual impact was stunning and suffocating, as if there was nowhere to hide. But Ling Xiao remained indifferent. Since there was no way to dodge, he would face it head on. This was his style, no tricks, straightforward, deciding the outcome in one battle. Of course, the premise was that he was confident in winning. If not, he would use every means to hide his moves, ambush, or even set traps. Winning was what mattered. As the ancients said, all is fair in war. Ling Xiao knew well when to go all out and when to be cautious. After all, surviving until now and becoming strong meant having a lot of cunning. Without wisdom, how could one have great power? Unless one's talent was unbelievably high, but even then, it wouldn't reach Ling Xiao's level. Ling Xiao's talent was unique. With the system's support, every step he took was incredibly precise and flawless. No one in history, nor in the future, could surpass him. It was destined. Because of his perfection, he transcended all human limits. Everyone who saw him could only marvel at the miracle of life. How could such a world-shaking genius appear? They couldn't imagine that Ling Xiao's talent, spiritual tools, skills, and all opportunities were realms unreachable by ordinary people. In the world, it seemed he shouldn't exist, yet he stood before everyone, leaving doubters with no rebuttal. Facing the monster before him, Ling Xiao saw it was a huge vine plant, without intelligence, attacking mechanically based only on instinct and experience. Vines waved like tentacles, striking blow after blow. Each strike landed on Ling Xiao, but caused no harm, only making him more bored. The vines attacked frantically, as if victory was within reach, unaware that Ling Xiao was not an opponent to be measured by experience. So many had lost their lives because of him, crushed by his unknown power and strength. Ling Xiao watched coldly. The battle was without suspense. The attacks were like tickling, utterly unchallenging. He looked down on them, leapt into the air, ready to get a full view of the vines. Ascending to 100 meters, the height was still far from enough to see everything. Flying up to 1,000 meters, he still couldn't take in the entire vine. Only then did he understand why he was taken so seriously. The vines had devoured countless strong opponents, were massive in size, and had strange power. The real danger of the vines lay in their special spiritual and psychic allure. Many strong warriors were unaware and easily fell into the trap, like moths to a flame. Ling Xiao's lips curled slightly. He decided to end it quickly, not allowing it to continue harming living beings. He gathered scorching flame elements in his hand, originally planning to tear it apart with spiritual power, but the vines were too large and it would take too long. Burning it with fire to eradicate it in one go was the most efficient method. Wood-type creatures all fear fire. This was common knowledge since his childhood. Since he was unlucky enough to encounter it, he wouldn't be blamed for being ruthless. The flames in his hand grew larger and larger, and Ling Xiao suddenly hurled them. Immediately, dozens of fireballs flew out one after another, raining down on the vines like raindrops. At first, the vines were indifferent, casually swinging their tendrils to swat the fireballs away. But the fireballs ignited on contact, burning fiercely, and the thick spiritual power of the vines instantly turned to ashes. The moisture evaporated instantly, as if it had never existed. The vines were incredibly shocked. Never before had they seen such fierce flames. In the past, the flames would extinguish upon contact, never causing them the slightest harm. Not to mention that this instant burning completely destroyed their roots. Reduced to ashes and smoke, not even a speck of ash remained. Panic finally erupted in his heart. He looked up and saw the sky filled with countless fireballs, like endless ammunition, overwhelming the heavens. At this moment, he fully understood the true meaning of fear and felt deep despair. This human was unbelievably powerful. Facing such an enemy, his life seemed to be at its end. He was flustered and frantically threw the vines one by one into the sky, desperately trying to block the endless fireballs. He knew the vines would instantly burn to ashes by the flames, but as long as the core remained unharmed, there was still hope. If a fireball hit the root, his life would be completely finished. The high-temperature flames could instantly incinerate his core. He understood that merely intercepting these fireballs continuously was only delaying the inevitable. Sooner or later, a fireball would hit the vital spot, but for now, he had no choice but to hold on. His mind was too occupied to think. He could only passively endure wave after wave of attacks. Fortunately, the extreme heat of the flames caused the vines to instantly turn to ash, preventing the flames from spreading along the vines. This was his only stroke of luck. Ling Xiao knew all this and was also aware it was only a matter of time. His spiritual power was profound, especially his elemental power, which was not part of his body but energy continuously drawn from the outside world. Although his body could also generate elements, it was time-consuming and exhausting, so he rarely used it. He relied more on absorbing elements from the environment after attacking. These elements returned to nature, not disrupting the natural balance. If he generated too many elements himself, the attacks would disturb the natural attributes of heaven and earth, affecting the development of the universe. He avoided this behavior at all costs, otherwise, with his reserve of fire elements, he could burn an entire universe. Those around him should feel fortunate Ling Xiao is not a plundering brute, but someone focused on improving his strength. His goal is simple: to protect himself and those important to him, not to save the world. If it were someone else, even Yun Ting, who once had a good relationship with him, the situation might have been very different. Such immense power without restraint could lead to unpredictable consequences. But Ling Xiao rejects the idea of controlling everything. He believes that living according to one's heart is true wisdom. He had no interest in things that consumed effort but brought no benefit to himself. Having cultivated to this point, he had gained power, wealth, and even women within reach. That was enough. He did not want to be the kind of person who dominated the world and worried about countless matters. Only fools would choose such a life. Ling Xiao's achievements stemmed from talent, perseverance, and, more importantly, his love for cultivation. Without this passion, even if all his desires were satisfied, he would lose motivation. Cultivation was harsh and monotonous. Even though he could now decipher the origin of the world, boredom was inevitable. But Ling Xiao did not care. He only cared about becoming the person he wanted to be. All other difficulties were completely blocked from his sight. Fireballs crashed down wave after wave, and the vines gradually grew exhausted. Looking down, he saw the vines had sharply reduced in size, down to only 1/3 of their original volume. Because continuously, the vines resisted frantically, but their numbers rapidly dwindled, their movements slowed, and they even began to wither. Several vines suddenly fell, burning part of his core. Each time the core was burned, his power sharply decreased, his speed slowed further, falling into a vicious cycle. Ling Xiao knew very well that 843 could not hold out much longer and would eventually be crushed by his repeated strikes. But the vines obviously refused to admit defeat. Perhaps they had long understood the outcome but still clung desperately to the last shred of hope. Right, who would willingly give up their life and all their power? The vines had never faced true defeat. Their attacks devoured the strong, and no one could escape. They looked down on humans, seeing them only as sources of energy, spiritual sustenance from which they drew nourishment. Until they met Ling Xiao, their perspective completely changed. Those people were not weak, it was just that they had never faced a true strong opponent. Though these people were not as powerful as Ling Xiao, they would never be easily devoured. The vines began to regretting their recklessness, regretting underestimating Ling Xiao, which led to the current disastrous situation. But regret was useless. Besides fighting desperately, he had no other choice. If there were eyes, they must be filled with malice, staring fixedly at Ling Xiao. The vines, dragging their battered body, desperately blocked wave after wave of fireball attacks. The fireballs were endless like stars, falling continuously, exhausting his defenses. Seeing the vines already covered in wounds, with less than a quarter of the vines left on his body, Ling Xiao stopped attacking and slowly approached. The vines saw the fireballs cease and hope ignited in his heart. He thought Ling Xiao had run out of spiritual power and chose to stop, preparing for the final battle. This greatly boosted his confidence, believing the opponent was no longer able to continue ranged attacks and must risk close combat. The vines did not expect that Ling Xiao's approach was only to stretch his muscles, test his newly practiced fist techniques, and feel the sensation of tearing the vines. When Ling Xiao tore the vines into pieces one by one, as easily as tearing spicy strips, the vines finally understood that the so-called hope was all an illusion. In an instant, he felt a killing intent more terrifying than the fireballs. A bloodthirsty gleam flickered in Ling Xiao's eyes. That look made him tremble, not daring to fight back, only wanting to beg for mercy. But he had no eyes, no mouth, no hands, no feet. Otherwise, he would have desperately submitted to seek a chance of survival. Although Ling Xiao sensed his intentions, his strong spiritual power and injuries did not weaken his will. With spiritual power, Ling Xiao easily discerned all his thoughts but had no intention of sparing him. Though the vines appeared pitiful, the stronger enemies who died under his hand were even more pitiful. Such an enemy must be eradicated. Ling Xiao's fingers touched a vine, gently tore it, and the vine shattered instantly. He kept tearing the vines apart, his speed no less than the fireball attacks. The high-intensity use of spiritual power brought unprecedented exhilaration. Ling Xiao felt the primal pleasure of conquest, a feeling far beyond spiritual or elemental attacks. He wiped off the sticky plant sap on his body. The green liquid was thicker than blood and nauseating. A large amount of green liquid splashed onto Ling Xiao again, instantly soaking his clothes, like a thick layer of green armor tightly wrapping his entire body. Ling Xiao frowned, a wave of disgust rising in his heart. Such things were nothing but disgusting and utterly useless. In his eyes, the vines seemed to survive only by sucking the life from living beings, with no other value. If the vines could understand his thoughts, they would probably have been crying their eyes out long ago. He coldly tore at the vine's branches and leaves one by one, his voice icy. Let me go? Don't dream. But the vine's pleas were useless, his hands showed no mercy. After tearing for a while, Ling Xiao felt the efficiency was too low, so he simply drew out the Black Heaven Demon Spear. The black spear shaft shimmered with a faint demonic light, like a sharp blade in the night. With a flick of the spear tip, Ling Xiao felt the surrounding vines thrash violently, as if in a final struggle, all converging and lunging at him fiercely. The current number of vines was less than a tenth of what it once was, only about 5%, but they were covered in wounds and on the verge of collapse. The scene looked bleak, but it did not stir a trace of pity in him. He concentrated all his spiritual power into the Black Heaven Demon Spear and stabbed fiercely at the base of the vines. Before the vines could launch an attack, they trembled and snapped, falling to the ground one after another. Although the core of the vines was not struck, they had lost all support and were hanging by a thread. Their spiritual power was far inferior to Ling Xiao's, completely trapped in a desperate situation. A desolation surged like a tide in his heart. The vines used their last strength to desperately plead, "Don't kill me. I'm willing to become your spiritual pet. I'm willing to serve you, please spare my life." A cold smile curled at the corner of Ling Xiao's mouth. He hadn't expected plants to have such thoughts, far smarter than he had imagined. He asked curiously, "You want me to take you as a spiritual pet? Tell me, what abilities do you have?" The vine's voice was low and firm. "My spiritual power originates from innate talent, unlike humans who cultivate later in life. Although humans can cultivate stronger spiritual power, they can never penetrate the soul as deeply as I can. I can invade an enemy's consciousness, replace their control, become their true master, and never be rejected." Ling Xiao's eyes lit up, excitement stirring in his heart. He had heard that Yun Ting could manipulate human desires to make them submit, but that was ultimately control that could be broken free at any time. The vine's ability was to truly seize control of the opponent's body, far surpassing Yun Ting's trick. He asked, "Then how can I take you as a spiritual power pet? Will you betray me? How do you use your abilities?" The vine answered, "As long as the contract is signed, I will never betray you. The contract will detail my usage rules and all my abilities." Ling Xiao did not hesitate. "All right, I agree." Under the guidance of the vine, the two immediately signed the contract. The moment the contract was formed, Ling Xiao felt all the information of the vine abilities, thoughts, emotions clear as day. He finally understood that this vine was not only the embodiment of power but also the strongest ally in battle. The other party could never betray him, not a single thought of his could escape his own consciousness. If there was any rebellious thought, it would be immediately detected. Even more terrifying, the power of the contract could instantly kill him. Ling Xiao relaxed and said coldly, "Since you have become my subordinate, stop pitying yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, he thunderously summoned the elements of death and destruction, quickly merging them into a life force full of vitality. That power, like spring rain, rapidly spread, filling the entire space. The tentacles around, which had not been completely destroyed, began to rapidly revive. The broken parts miraculously reconnected on their own, and the vine was restored to its original state, radiating vigorous life. The branches turned to ashes could no longer be restored, but the remaining vines were renewed. Ling Xiao's body was filled with powerful life spiritual energy, and with the help of elixirs and magical treasures, restoring the other's peak strength was easy, though it was unnecessary now. He only restored the remaining power. Seeing this, the vine was so moved that it could hardly speak. It had thought it could only survive by clinging to that tiny core, never expecting to recover such ability, though still far from before. It stammered to Ling Xiao, "Thank you, master, you really are a good person." This sentence made Ling Xiao chuckle. The vine was so naive. Just because he helped it recover some spiritual power, it could say the words "good person." Ling Xiao knew in his heart that he had no pity even when he helped his disciples and those people in the ancient universe. It was only because of the emotional bonds with his disciples. Everything he did was fundamentally for himself and those he wanted to protect. He never thought of himself as a good person. Now, hearing this from a newly subdued enemy, Ling Xiao felt only irony and said lightly, "Now I will send you away from here, moving you into my small world. There, spiritual power is abundant, and you can cultivate peacefully to restore your peak. I once promised someone to eliminate you, but now that I have subdued you, it's an exception. I can't let them think I failed the task." The vine nodded repeatedly and respectfully said, "Master's orders, your subordinate obeys." It was eager to enter Ling Xiao's small world. Being close to such a strong person would surely boost its strength rapidly. After becoming Ling Xiao's spiritual pet, the closer it was to him, the stronger the amplification. It understood in its heart that if one day Ling Xiao encountered danger, it would also likely die. No matter what, following him was the best choice. Previously worried about not being able to accompany him, now all concerns had vanished. Ling Xiao waved his hand, and a powerful spiritual force swept around like a violent storm, stirring up dust and pouring into the earth. He tightly rolled the vines into a ball, protecting the center, feeling the impact of the storm like spiritual force. Then, using himself as the center, he drew a huge circle, dug a deep pit, preparing to transplant the vines with their roots into his own small world. He kept searching for the vine roots, digging deeper. The root system was unexpectedly huge, even thicker than he had anticipated. All the vine roots were uprooted intact, without any damage. The land inside the original barrier was left with only a deep pit. Ling Xiao thought to himself, what would the manager think upon seeing this scene? But he no longer pondered. He had completely eliminated the greatest threat and had done his best. As for the extra professional bonus, it wasn't excessive. Even if the other party was dissatisfied, they wouldn't dare to easily object. With Ling Xiao's strength, the strong have privileges. He left swaggeringly, as if nothing had happened. However, his body was still stained with a green liquid, and he just wanted to clean it off quickly. Back at the hotel, Ling Xiao immediately rushed into the bathroom, turned on the hot water sharply, and the heat wave instantly hit his face. He washed away all the fatigue and filth from his body. Water droplets slid down his skin, as if telling the story of a fierce battle just ended. After the shower, he lay on the bed, his eyelids heavy, ready to rest well and treat this as an extra reward for himself. Just as the spatial barrier was removed, Ling Xiao collided head-on with the anxiously waiting manager. The manager glanced back at the crack, noticing that the leakage of Vine spiritual energy had ceased, and his heart instantly ignited with joy, knowing the mission was accomplished. Thank you for your hard work. We are truly grateful. This vine has troubled us for years. Countless strong people were powerless to solve it, and some never came out again, the manager said excitedly. Fortunately, you completely eradicated it. We will never forget your contribution, and the reward will definitely be generous. Rest assured. Ling Xiao nodded lightly. Since the task is completed, I'll go back to rest first. All right, leave the rest to me, the manager said with a smile, waving his hand. Ling Xiao turned and left, silently evaluating in his heart, this manager is indeed an experienced service professional. His words were smooth and appropriate, both boasting about his own glory and completely ignoring my current disheveled appearance. Very shrewd. However, the manager secretly observed Ling Xiao and found him completely unharmed, his breath steady, even his breathing as relaxed as if he had just finished a game of mahjong. The only trace on him was a few leaves stuck to his body, with none of the messiness expected from a fight. How could he possibly be mistaken for an incompetent person? At first, the manager was just relieved that the task was successful, but then he realized something was wrong. Although the vine was dead, such a huge mass could not have disappeared without a trace. Now there was only a huge pit left, larger than the vine's surface area and bottomless. Ling Xiao had actually uprooted it completely, digging such a large hole simply incredible. The manager was momentarily speechless, but then he thought, since the problem was solved, how big the pit was didn't matter. This wasteland was useless anyway, and any cost to remove the vine was worth it. Although he felt a bit reluctant, his bigger business mind began to calculate, maybe it could be developed into an underground palace, using special resources to earn some processing fees. The businessman's thinking was indeed unique. After organizing the situation, the manager returned to the hotel, preparing to submit the report tomorrow. He still had an important meeting to see the real owner. As a manager, he had no power to decide major matters, nor could he afford such a reward. He pressed the button for the basement floor in the elevator. The elevator descended rapidly, and when the door opened, there was a narrow corridor with only one room at the end. The corridor was dark and cramped, oppressive, but the manager was already used to it and felt no discomfort. Ling Xiao returned to his room and went straight into the bathroom, preparing to thoroughly clean his disheveled state. To be honest, he hadn't been so unrestrained in a long time. Usually, he fought rationally and restrained himself, rarely getting this messy. Today, after a long time without close combat, he just wanted to fight thoroughly, getting covered in the opponent's splattered juices completely unavoidable and not worth making a fuss over. After washing up, he stepped out of the bathroom as dawn was breaking. Time had flown astonishingly fast, and Ling Xiao felt many emotions, as if he had just rested a little while ago and now it was already morning. Next, should he continue sleeping or start training? Before he could decide, there was suddenly a knock at the door. Ling Xiao frowned. A visit at this hour was undoubtedly very rude. Irritated, he walked to open the door and looked up to see the Manhwa. Ger. The manager said, "Good morning. The boss wants to see you to discuss the follow-up reward." Ling Xiao frowned slightly. So early, taking the initiative to find him, and someone coming to invite him personally. His intuition sensed something unusual. He responded coldly, "You decide the reward. I don't need to negotiate." The other party was eager. "No, please come over. We guarantee you will be satisfied." Ling Xiao still shook his head, his tone firm. The other party had to soften. "The boss has a special condition and cannot come personally, so he can only invite you over. Don't worry, even if you don't help, the previous payment will be made. If you are willing to appear in person, a large reward awaits you. No matter how high your demands, we can meet them. This matter only benefits you, not harms you. Please consider it seriously." As soon as the words fell, Ling Xiao finally raised his eyes and replied calmly, "I'll think it over." Then he closed the door, already having made up his mind. He thought to himself that resting was the best option. All the recent troubles were draining him, and if he didn't recover, a collapse in his condition would be disastrous for his cultivation. He found an excuse, lay back down, refused to let fatigue take over, and fell into a deep sleep. This sleep was exceptionally refreshing. After yesterday's intense battle, both his mind and body were exhausted, and the long-lost feeling of fatigue enveloped him. Sleep brought powerful restoration, and upon waking, he felt refreshed, as if his cultivation had advanced to a new level. Although knowing it was impossible, the strength had indeed increased, even if only by a slight leap. After all, taming a spiritual power pet itself enhances strength. Although indirect and not obvious, it greatly boosts physical fitness. Coupled with the exhaustion from fighting opponents, the improvement after recovery feels more natural. Ling Xiao understood this in his heart and planned to carefully examine the cultivation data, understand the current situation, and then make plans. He opened the attribute interface. Name, Ling Xiao. Cultivation attempts, 117. Martial Realm, Immortal Realm, 6th Heaven. Soul Realm, Immortal Realm, 10th Layer with Tao Rhythm Blessing. Vitality, 1000 billion quadrillion 1 point equals 3 quintillion kilograms of force. Soul, 9 octillion. Secondary Profession Grandmaster, 10 type 17th rank, medium grade, 05000 quadrillion, legendary. Skill, Weapon Master Triple Tao Principle, 15x multiplier, 010 trillion. Rules, 3000 limit domain, 480 types. Talent, Undying Divine Body Immortal level, combat power 5000%. The body of the human emperor heavenly Tao level, empowered 10 trillion times. Void Dragon Body Immortal level, physical body 2048. Power of Creation 17th rank supreme, 2999 types. Cultivation methods. Will of the Gods heavenly Tao level, 17th rank shattered 50,000 times. Demon Gods Nirvana 17th rank lower grade. Berserk Absorption level 17, low grade. Law of Heaven and Phenomena of Earth 17th rank middle grade, 1000 times. Genesis Divine Scripture 18th rank, lower grade. Consciousness Fission 17th rank lower grade, 5000 times. Introduction to Spiritual Cultivation Manual 17th rank, lower grade, 5000x. Basic Spiritual Attack Supporting Cultivation Method 17th rank, lower grade, 5000x. 100 Methods to Forge Spiritual Attack Devices 17th rank, lower grade, 5000x. Advanced Array Formation Cultivation 17th rank, lower grade, 5000x. Material Deceptive Path of Illusory Great Array 17th rank, lower grade, 5000x. Martial Techniques. Death Gun Technique 17th rank middle grade, 400 times. Light of World Annihilation 17th rank lower grade, 300x. Teleportation 17th rank lower grade, 200x. Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th rank lower grade, 200x. Demonic Energy and Demonic Martial Analysis 17th rank middle grade, 400x. Soul Dance 15th rank, lower grade, 300x. Dark Palm Technique 16th rank, mid-level, 400x. Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence 15th rank, low grade, 400x. Falling Flowers early 14th rank, lower grade, 300x. Prajnaparamita Sutra 14th level P, 500x. Equipment, Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th. 7th rank middle grade, Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th rank middle grade, Angel Wings 17th rank lower grade, Black Star Stone King Unknown, above 17th rank, Demon Subduing Wave 16th rank middle grade, Soul Summoning Sail 17th rank lower grade, Ing Tian Ling 17th rank peak, Vajra Bracelet 15th rank lower grade, Natural Wool 16th rank upper grade, Martial Soul Chariot 15th rank upper grade, Buddha Light Pearl 17th rank upper grade. Mental Gold Ingot 16th rank peak, Lihua Jade Purifying Bottle 15th rank upper grade, Glazed Forest Light Shoe 16th rank middle grade, Jadeite Spirit Gathering Bowl 17th rank lower grade, Floating Light Music Theory Brocade 15th rank middle grade, Launch Song Jade Bone Fan 17th rank middle grade, Hibiscus Jade Stone 17th rank upper grade, Jade Butterfly Ancient Gold Seal 17th rank middle grade, Hemlock Wood Physical System Cultivation Method, Neat Floss. Dien 17th rank upper grade, capable of instantly unleashing great power when weak, Echo Ring 17th rank upper grade, able to simulate the pressure of cultivators 2 realms higher than itself, Soul Pavilion 17th rank upper grade. Physical Combat Power, Super Immortal Realm 4th Heaven. Ultimate Combat Power, Super Immortal Realm 4th Heaven. Ling Xiao's gaze was sharp, sweeping through these data one by one, quickly calculating his current cultivation status and upcoming plans in his mind. He understood that time was the lifeline. Only by completing the most efficient cultivation in the shortest time could he control his fate and remain undefeated forever. A faint sense of loss stirred within. Although his cultivation advancement was smooth and data growth astonishing, his realm breakthroughs were slow and stagnant, as if blocked by an invisible barrier. This was in stark contrast to his previously rapid ascent. If others heard this, they would only envy and resent him. His current spiritual power growth rate was a talent many dreamed of, and he was already at the super immortal realm 6th heaven, yet the speed still slowed. If he continued to advance rapidly now, the natural order of the world would be disrupted. Ling Xiao held himself to extremely high standards, never allowing mediocrity or accepting decline. Only by becoming the strongest in the world could he protect himself and everyone around him, and ensure no enemy dared to harm him in the slightest. Standing at the peak and becoming an unshakable existence was his sole goal. This obsession stemmed from the hardships he endured wandering the stars with his sister and suffering bullying. If strength was lost, everything would be taken away. That sense of powerlessness terrified him. His passion for cultivation and thirst for power far exceeded that of ordinary people. Now, his bonds were deep. He not only bore the responsibility for his sister's safety but also carried the futures of 2 disciples. Those standing behind him were both a source of strength and a shackle of pressure. He vowed to be their shield. If one day he could not protect them, he would blame himself for life. Just as he was immersed in thought, a sudden earth-shattering explosion erupted in the distance, sweeping in with destructive energy. Ling Xiao instantly became alert, coldly scanning his surroundings, sensing every trace of threat. This world was not peaceful. He had stayed in this star region for many years, rarely encountering danger, but crises kept emerging here, making it impossible for him to rest easy. Without hesitation, he quickly activated his spiritual power, preparing to take the initiative. Ling Xiao despised sitting and waiting to die. He wanted to seize the initiative and strike first. Just as he concealed himself in the shadows, observing the situation, the system alert suddenly sounded. Ding. Unknown dangerous target detected. Location, northwest direction, distance 200 million light-years. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. Previously, he had only heard distant sounds, never expecting the source to be so far away. 200 million light-years. Though astonishing, yet the sound and spiritual pressure were still so clear, indicating the opponent's extraordinary power. At this moment, Ling Xiao realized the storm ahead was far more perilous than he had imagined. System warnings came one after another, the voice urgent and piercing. Ding. Opponent distance 100 million light-years from host. Ding. Opponent entering 100-mile range, preparing to engage. Ling Xiao's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. With no time to hesitate, danger was right before him. He clenched his fists, his gaze sharp as a blade, vigilantly scanning the surroundings. An opponent capable of crossing hundreds of millions of light-years and carrying immense pressure was no ordinary being. After entering the 100-mile range, the system's prompt abruptly stopped. It seemed deliberately silent, leaving him to scout the hidden threat alone. Ling Xiaoming understood that if the system continued to make noise, it would expose itself and provoke a more intense attack from the enemy. This kind of silence was unprecedented, yet it stirred a deeper vigilance within him. No matter what the enemy was, he would face it head-on and never retreat. His strong power gave him confidence. Although the system did not issue an extreme danger alert, it implied that the enemy was still within a controllable range. Dare to come, and it's a dead end. Ling Xiao muttered softly, a cold gleam flickering in his eyes, murderous intent surging like a tide. Soon, he sensed a strange energy rapidly approaching. The distance was only 10 meters, yet his sight saw nothing. Only when his focus locked in did he realize it was nothing more than a tiny speck, like a grain of dust, indistinguishable to the naked eye. This speck of dust contained unmatched power, its target unwavering, its speed astonishing. Ling Xiao was shocked in his heart, thinking, how much power could this little thing possibly hide? He quickly retreated, summoning spatial spiritual power, instantly unfolding a small spatial barrier, attempting to trap the opponent. However, the speck easily passed through his spatial barrier, as if the spatial divide bounded not at all. This was the first time Ling Xiao encountered such a situation. Spatial spiritual power usually blocks any attack, forming an insurmountable barrier. But now, the speck broke through all of it. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows, leaping and constantly dodging. Fortunately, although mysterious, the opponent couldn't keep up with his speed. He observed carefully and found that once the speck entered his line of sight, its speed drastically slowed, far less swift than when it had crossed billions of light years before. A flash of insight struck him. This limitation seemed specifically designed against him, the handiwork of the world heavenly Tao consciousness that harbored hostility toward him. Ling Xiao had never directly faced the restrictions of the heavenly Tao will, but now he roughly understood its nature. Enemies within sight have their form and speed greatly suppressed. But precisely because of this, the speck could escape the spatial barrier, traveling through different spaces. He clenched his fist, his gaze as firm as a rock, instantly grasping the key to breaking through the enemy's defense. The battle was just beginning. Ling Xiao knew he couldn't suppress this thing with spiritual power. Using Dao Ryan was completely ineffective. He simply released the spiritual power on his body, treating himself as an ordinary person, relying solely on his fists to attack. But the opponent was too small. His fists couldn't hit it at all. Ling Xiao changed angle, suddenly reaching out and enveloping the tiny thing, then squeezing hard. The opponent was instantly trapped in his hand, unable to stir even a ripple, only wildly striking and struggling inside, desperately trying to escape but failing. Though its power was fierce, it was far inferior to Ling Xiao's physical spiritual power. This made Ling Xiao even more determined that continuously refining his physique and improving his body's quality was an absolutely wise choice. Facing such a strange existence, relying solely on spiritual power or a single ability would sooner or later lead to a dead end, calling on heaven in vain, calling on earth to no avail. Only by developing comprehensively and forging an invincible self could one leave the enemy with no opening and always ensure safety. Ling Xiao clenched his fist tightly, carefully feeling the tiny existence in his hand. It trembled, each strike's trajectory clearly etched in his heart. He couldn't help but smile inwardly. The world heavenly Tao consciousness was now caught in his palm. This thing had actually descended personally to challenge him, yet ended up trapped in his hand, unable to fly away at all. Ling Xiao knew the heavenly Tao consciousness hadn't expected to be so restricted. From afar, it had unleashed powerful spiritual pressure, sizable and incredibly fast. Now, it was shrunk to a speck of dust, becoming tiny and powerless, left only with the aura of crushing all rules. He is holding on to it now, but doesn't know what to do next. He can't keep holding it forever. Cultivating, eating, and sleeping would all become problematic. But if he lets go, the trouble could be unpredictable. The other party is intangible and formless, able to crush all rules, cannot be destroyed or driven away. Once released, it would probably be difficult to catch again. This time the other party was unprepared, but next time it might not be the same. For now, he has no choice but to hold on tightly. He called out to the system, "System, do you know what the world's heavenly Tao consciousness is?" The system responded, "Ding. A legendary existence, impossible to verify." Ling Xiao was speechless. Even the system had no solution. Who else could he rely on? He racked his brains, trying to piece together a countermeasure from his past knowledge. But no matter how I searched, I couldn't find an effective method. After all, this dust form, which could crush all rules and possessed powerful spiritual energy, was simply too abnormal. Apart from him, I'm afraid no one has ever seen such a monster. The world heavenly Tao consciousness itself did not expect to be so restricted. Both fell into an awkward situation, yet neither was willing to stop attacking, especially the heavenly Tao consciousness. Although it did not anticipate this situation, it was well prepared in advance, having paid a great price, and cannot easily admit defeat. Therefore, Ling Xiao would never let go easily unless there was an absolutely safe and reliable plan. He could only continue to hold on tightly, but the particle's impacts grew increasingly violent and more impatient. The harder it struck, the tighter Ling Xiao gripped. Both sides were at a stalemate, with no solution. He tried to summon one miniature spatial spirit power after another in his hand, attempting to trap the opponent. But the opponent showed no reaction, still charging recklessly, ignoring all restrictions. Ling Xiao summoned time elements again, but it was still ineffective. Even because of the special nature of the world's heavenly Tao consciousness, he could only boldly push time forward, but dared not adjust it too far. He was even more afraid to let time flow backward or fast forward excessively, fearing that the other party would instantly revert to that powerful form and the situation would spiral out of control. However, he soon realized he had been overthinking. The element of time had no effect on him. After all, the other party was the world's heavenly Tao consciousness, the existence that controls the rules of all things. The rules could not control him at all, he was the master of the rules. Ling Xiao helplessly tried various methods repeatedly. Spiritual power, mental power, various elemental forces, he tried them all but found no effective means. The more he thought, the more anxious he became, yet he was still at a loss. Fortunately, he remained unharmed and could maintain a delicate balance. Suddenly, Ling Xiao had an epiphany. He had been trapped in a misunderstanding. He could not use spiritual power, mental power, or even aura and Tao resonance to deal with the other party. Why not try something that already existed in the world? He rummaged around and found a small jar that was once used for growing flowers. This small jar was not used by him to grow flowers, but an ordinary container placed there by the little elf out of boredom in his little world. Ling Xiao quickly threw a particle into the bottle and simultaneously took precautions to prevent the other party from escaping. He tightly fastened the bottle cap but was surprised to find that the other party had not even tried to break through the seal. He observed carefully and found that the world's heavenly Tao consciousness kept striking the bottle walls, trying to break through, but it was always in vain. The two were at a stalemate when Ling Xiao chuckled lightly, never expecting that dealing with such an invincible being would be so simple. Just a small jar was enough to trap it, cutting off any chance of escape. At this moment, Ling Xiao's joy sharply contrasted with the anger of the world's heavenly Tao. The latter was furious, never expecting that he, the master of the world's rules, would be trapped in a small, dark jar with no light. This was even more humiliating than being temporarily imprisoned in Ling Xiao's palm. After all, being controlled by a master still implied some strength, but this jar was just an inconspicuous object from the mortal world, something that could be bought for a few bucks, yet it completely paralyzed his powerful spiritual energy. He had prepared countless divine artifacts, fearing that his spiritual energy would be restricted and unable to be used. But now, these artifacts were useless, even his spiritual energy was sealed off, and the advantage of suppressing rules was lost. Anxiety surged within him like a tide. He feared being imprisoned forever, unsure when he would regain freedom. He had violated the world's heavenly Tao rules on this trip, recklessly chasing Ling Xiao because he felt deeply threatened. But long-term detachment from the rules could lead to losing his identity, and his physical body had already been destroyed millions of years ago. Once he lost his identity, death and destruction would be inevitable. Fear swept over him, and he regretted his recklessness and lack of preparation. No one had ever taught him the experience before, and he did not know what restrictions he would face for breaking the rules. He thought that having his spiritual energy sealed was bad enough, but he never expected the world's heavenly Tao to reduce his form to dust, rendering thousands of spiritual energies useless, various divine artifacts unable to be summoned, plunging him into extreme embarrassment. Just as he was distressed, a fresh breath suddenly appeared before his eyes. He was about to. Ling Xiao suddenly charged forward but was violently stopped by an invisible force, slammed hard into a pile of moist soil. His heart jolted. Soil? Where did this soil come from? Outside, Ling Xiao was holding a handful of damp soil, unhesitatingly stuffing it into the vase. Using soil to plant flowers was the most ordinary thing, but this time, his purpose was far beyond that. Since this small vase could trap the opponent, Ling Xiao had no intention of changing the container. But the mouth of the bottle couldn't remain sealed forever. He wanted to make sure the opponent couldn't move at all. The thick soil perfectly sealed that force inside, making escape impossible. Ling Xiao thought to himself, maybe he could even grow some flowers and plants, letting the soil serve some purpose. After all, the spiritual energy flowing through him was genuine, and the plants nourished would not be ordinary grass but would surely possess incredible power. If the pot weren't so small, he would even consider putting the little pet he had just captured inside to take good care of it. This series of actions left even the laws of heaven and earth speechless. Ling Xiao had thought that the world's heavenly Tao consciousness was so powerful that a battle between them would be earth-shattering, lasting 300 rounds. However, things went against his expectations. He won easily. At present, that consciousness was trapped in this tiny pot, no different from dust, indistinguishable. This scene was fantastical and bizarre, yet utterly real. Ling Xiao felt nothing but secret pride and paid it little mind. He took the vase back to his residence, having no clue how to deal with it for the time being, so he placed it aside, planning to find more spiritual plants to plant inside, hoping to let it absorb the essence of heaven and earth and possibly assist him in the future. If the world's heavenly Tao consciousness knew this, it would surely explode with rage. Being captured was humiliating enough, but to be reduced to flowerpot soil, helping others raise pets and cultivate new members, was the greatest insult to it. This consciousness once stood high above, commanding the operation of heaven and earth, never imagining that one day it would be casually controlled by someone. But Ling Xiao felt no guilt about this. When he stood at the peak, he suppressed others at will. Now that it was in his own hands, it naturally had to obey. The fact that he spared its life was already merciful. To put it bluntly, it wasn't out of great compassion, but because he had no other options. Although suppressed by the laws of heaven and earth, it was nothing but a speck of dust before him, yet its true form was hard and powerful, extremely difficult to destroy. Sooner or later, it would escape this prison. Ling Xiao was powerless to eradicate it or seal it. He could only pray to come up with a clever plan soon and benefit from it, or else it would be a huge loss. Back at the hotel, he pondered repeatedly, even bringing in the manager to discuss matters. "Do you have any rare and promising plants here?" Ling Xiao asked seriously, his tone firm. The manager was stunned, thinking, a cultivator interested in plants? That's quite a unique hobby. But seeing Ling Xiao's serious expression, the manager dared not neglect him. "We don't currently have anything that meets your requirements, but I will keep an eye out." Ling Xiao nodded. "Remember, notify me immediately once you find something, the sooner the better. Don't delay important matters." The manager repeatedly assured him, "Rest assured, I will find something for you as soon as possible, no delays." For a powerful figure like Ling Xiao to be so eager in his search, there must be something important at stake. The manager grew secretly nervous and began reviewing the rare flowers and herbs he had heard of, trying hard to identify the most suitable ones. In fact, although their family was large, they also preserved many seeds of magical plants, but had yet to find the perfect specimen. The items were extremely simple. Especially those spiritual flowers and herbs, which sounded ordinary and hardly matched Ling Xiao's status. Giving them to him would be like slighting a guest. It would be difficult to explain to both Ling Xiao and the higher-ups if anything went wrong, and he would have to take the blame. So he decided he must spend time searching for rare, powerful, and promising spiritual plants to satisfy all parties and protect his own position. This was the secret to his rise from a junior employee, never careless, always cautious. Since Ling Xiao made his request, the manager completely changed his approach. Originally planning to prepare various gifts to please Ling Xiao, now he focused solely on searching for rare flowers and herbs. He searched through countless spiritual flowers and herbs but still felt none were worthy of Ling Xiao. Days passed, and nothing was delivered. Ling Xiao grew anxious. He needed to cultivate quickly. The world as heavenly rules could change at any time, and time was precious. Even without high-grade seeds, he had to plant something first. With powerful spiritual energy and a flaw repair system, even plants of low grade could be improved. Seeing his urgency, the manager quickly apologized. Sorry, there has indeed been a delay. We have some spiritual flowers and herbs on hand, but none particularly suitable for you. Please take a look at these first. I will send them over immediately. Use them if you need to. We will continue searching for more precious and promising ones." Ling Xiao nodded. "Very well." Soon, there was a knock at the door, and the manager sent someone with various plants, seeds, seedlings, a few mature medicinal herbs, and even several rare spiritual medicines. They were old in age, with stable value and no appreciation potential. Ling Xiao carefully inspected them, nodded with satisfaction, and accepted them all without hesitation. After he had them sent to his room, those people left, and the manager also breathed a sigh of relief. The manager had instructed, if Ling Xiao was not satisfied, he must bring everything back without missing a word. Unexpectedly, Ling Xiao was so straightforward and accepted everything. Ling Xiao only wanted to find some mid to high quality items to be satisfied, but he didn't expect the manager to be so reliable and send everything available. This greatly increased Ling Xiao's options, many of which were treasures with huge potential and considerable value. Unfortunately, there is only one world Dao, so mature plants cannot be easily dug up. The targets could only be seedlings and seeds. He summoned the system and commanded, "Scan these, upgrade all that can be upgraded." The system responded, "Ding, scanning begins." Scan targets include Poria grass, ginseng, deer antler, banana, wild yellow fruit, orchid heartgrass, silver crane spirit, sunflower seedlings, immortal forest seeds, Yuuzhan palace, jasmine, and more, a dazzling array. The more he listened, the more excited he became. These items were all of extremely high grade. The system continued, "Ding, scan complete, vulnerabilities found, billion, initiate repair?" Ling Xiao replied promptly, "Repair all." The system prompted, "Ding, vulnerability repair initiated. Progress, 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, 30%, 50%, 90%, 100%. Watching the progress bar advance rapidly, an unprecedented joy erupted in Ling Xiao's heart. Holding so many assets and upgrade treasures, he once again felt a strong sense of control. This was true happiness. He hadn't been this happy for a long time. People around him were willing to continue supplying resources for him, and his future was incredibly bright. He never accepted any protection. This was his first time encountering these plants, the first time experiencing their wonders. Suddenly receiving so many, an unprecedented joy surged in his heart. Ling Xiao's lips curled slightly. It seemed life wouldn't be so boring anymore. Cultivation had become monotonous and dull for him. Daily progress stagnated, without any waves. At his level, few dared to provoke him. Familiar opponents had disappeared, and after a long time, he even felt a trace of boredom. Others didn't take the initiative to trouble him, and he felt embarrassed to make the first move. Life was dead silent. Now, he finally found something to relieve his boredom. He also summoned the little spirits from his small world to help manage these plants. After all, the quantity was huge and difficult to handle alone. The manager before him was well prepared, not only sending various seedlings but also a variety of flower pots. These flower pots were extraordinary, made from spirit herb soil, of high grade, equipped with innate spirit gathering formations that could quickly aid plant growth and enhance their strength. Even more amazing, the longer they were used, the more the flower pots themselves would improve. Just these treasures alone were priceless. Ling Xiao secretly felt fortunate. Helping out this time was truly worth it. Not only had he opened up a new realm of cultivation, but he had also obtained countless treasures. Although he could handle it himself, who wouldn't like having help delivered right to their door? Neither of them had ever planted flowers or grass and were completely clueless about it. Ling Xiao asked the little spirit, "Do you understand these things?" The little spirit shook its head. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "You are all beings nurtured by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, so you should naturally have an affinity for them. Can't you sense their habits?" The little spirit looked back helplessly. "Master, you are also a product of heaven and earth. You can sense them, but do you know how to cultivate them?" This remark hit the nail on the head, leaving Ling Xiao speechless. He could only sense that they needed soil, but he hadn't expected the little spirit to say, "No, not all plants require soil." This statement completely overturned his understanding. It seemed he truly knew nothing. So what should he do next? Since he had already troubled the manager so much, he might as well hand over all the questions to him at once. Ling Xiao asked him to help send over planting manuals and detailed instructions, then called a waiter to give the order. The waiter responded quickly and turned to report to the manager. The manager immediately contacted high-level spiritual cultivators nearby, and batches of materials and experts were delivered directly to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao thought to himself that it would be better to let professionals handle it rather than doing it himself. So, he handed over all the work to them. Life immediately became quiet, and he threw himself back into cultivation. This time entering the training room, his state of mind was different. There was no longer the freshness or the passion for cultivation he once had. Instead, there was a strong desire to explore. He wanted to leave the training room and experience life outside. This feeling had been absent for a long time. Perhaps years of arduous cultivation had worn away his impulsiveness and vitality. He had grown accustomed to being low-key and cautious, lacking the drive and fervor of his youth. So he let himself leave the training room and stepped onto the street. He had never truly looked closely at the outside world. Having stayed here for so long, apart from various commissions, he had hardly ever gone out. Thinking of this, he felt a twinge of regret. When he would leave here in the future, and whether he could return, was completely uncertain. He decided to take a good look outside, hoping to discover novelties he had never seen before. If he remained closed off and did not actively learn about others' cultivation progress and methods, he would only be trapped in a dead end, unable to break through. Once the cultivation speed slowed, the consequences would be unimaginable. With this goal in mind, Ling Xiao began to wander. His targets were not just shopping malls and street stalls, which were merely for entertainment. What he truly wanted to visit were those cultivation venues open to the outside world. These places were different from hotels. Hotels, being high-end, were often inhabited by powerful individuals, with complete and convenient facilities and elegant environments. Several top-tier training rooms have been built. But this is far from professional enough. True experts go to those publicly accessible, high-priced training rooms for seclusion. That is where the real forge of combat power is. These powerful individuals are mostly lone warriors without family ties. They are unwilling to waste time building their own training rooms, so they come directly here for seclusion. The facilities are complete and top-notch. Expensive? For them, it's not a problem at all. This place is not only convenient but also allows them to meet experts from all walks of life, exchange training experiences, and expand their network. The cost-performance ratio is extremely high. When Ling Xiao saw such a place for the first time, curiosity arose, and he walked straight in to inquire. Before hearing the price, he took out his card and paid. The funds on him were accumulated when he conquered the virtual universe back then, endless and inexhaustible. Money that would last 10 lifetimes. He didn't care about the price at all. What he truly valued were levels and priceless things. He had countless treasures on him and could sell them anytime if he needed money, which would inevitably attract strong contenders competing in sending money. As Ling Xiao entered here, he immediately understood the reason for the high fees. The functions far exceeded the training rooms he had seen in hotels before, and there was even exclusive virtual sparring. This sparring uses brainwave scanning to identify techniques, analyze weaknesses, and tailor battle plans. One-on-one matches are extremely satisfying. But Ling Xiao didn't use it. He was unwilling to expose his techniques, and this service had many restrictions. Someone as powerful as him simply couldn't find an opponent. Even if the other party comprehended his ultimate skills, it would be difficult to generate enough spiritual power to match him. It was equivalent to revealing his cards, which was not worth the loss. For top-tier experts, this thing was useless. The most practical was the spirit-gathering formation here, arranged at great expense, which made the spiritual power density far exceed that of the outside world. This was the fundamental reason why many strong individuals came here by reputation. There were also comfortable and comprehensive services to assist training anytime and anywhere. Many people came specifically because of the strong individuals gathered here, and they could even meet experts of higher rank than themselves, just like Ling Xiao's appearance today. Anyone who could get even a bit of guidance from him would immediately ascend and have their strength soar to a new level. But Ling Xiao had no interest in staying longer. His low-key and reserved personality helped him avoid a lot of trouble. He went straight into the training room he had chosen, opened the door, and the scene before him suddenly brightened. From the outside, it looked like a small door, but inside it was vast and boundless, completely breaking imagination. Each training room's volume was far larger than its appearance. Ling Xiao suddenly realized that this place must have mastered spatial elements. Spatial elements didn't need to be very strong but were extremely rare. Even among the demon race, who were naturally close to elements, very few could manipulate spatial spiritual power. Ling Xiao once thought that spatial spiritual power had long been lost, but he didn't expect to still see simple uses of spatial elements here. He suspected that there might be ancient relics hidden here that could easily manipulate space. After all, expanding space is not difficult and does not require very advanced techniques. For someone like Ling Xiao, creating a world is easier than breathing. He could even open a portal in the space before his eyes, directly connecting to another space. This space could be a small room or an entire universe to him. There was no difference between the two. The skills attained are no different. But this also proves that the strength behind these training rooms is extraordinary. Those who can unlock these places are definitely top-tier experts. Perhaps, some world-shaking secrets can also be discovered. Ling Xiao, filled with anticipation, began to experience the cultivation here. For him, cultivation was actually secondary. If he truly wanted to break through, he would choose a simple place to quietly cultivate. Although the spiritual energy in this place is abundant, it no longer holds much attraction for Ling Xiao. His spirit gathering 850 chair, spirit gathering formation, and those small incense burners are already more than enough to help him condense spiritual power anytime, anywhere. Nowadays, Ling Xiao's realm has long since merged with the heavens and earth, even able to suppress the world's heavenly Tao consciousness. The spiritual power in the world is as natural to him as his own spiritual power. Whether the spiritual power is stored inside his body or in the external environment makes no difference to him. Unless he goes to places where spiritual power is scarce or absorption is restricted, there is no need to deliberately store it. Even without deliberately accumulating it, the depth of spiritual power within him far surpasses that of anyone else in the world, making him an absolute peak. No matter how dense the spiritual energy here is, it is not enough to tempt him. Since other attractions cannot draw him in, Ling Xiao sought the last source of value exchanging techniques with strong individuals. It seems simple, but the threshold is extremely high. Why would others help you? You must be of comparable strength and have complementary techniques to mutually promote growth. This is precisely Ling Xiao's advantage. He possesses energy beyond what ordinary people can imagine. The divine book, mental spiritual power, various elemental forces. Whenever he casually takes one out, it can intimidate all around, causing countless strong individuals to kneel and beg to be his disciples. Just as he once did in the universes of his two disciples, he wonders if those people are still kneeling there now. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile. He wandered around here, first confirming that the training room was absolutely safe and free of threats, then settled down to cultivate with peace of mind. Even if he wanted to communicate, he had to respect the rules: no disturbing others' cultivation at will, and no trespassing into others' territories. One is most vulnerable during cultivation. If interrupted, the cost could be severe, even destroying the foundation of one's cultivation. Trespassing into private spaces easily angers others and can trigger conflicts. Though Ling Xiao was fearless, he always abided by the rules. He left his divine sense here to monitor at all times whether the 4.8 training room would open. Once detected, he would carefully observe the other's strength to judge whether it was worth exchanging techniques. This was the safest approach. According to plan, he entered cultivation but found the effects far exceeded expectations, making him somewhat addicted. He sat for more than 10 hours straight. When he opened his eyes, he felt refreshed, his cultivation greatly improved, and a rare sense of exhilaration arose. He then opened his attribute panel to examine it carefully. Name: Ling Xiao. Number of repairs: 118. Martial Realm, Immortal Realm, 7th layer. Soul Realm, Immortal Realm, 10th layer with Tao Rhythm Blessing. Vitality: 10 octillion. 1 point equals 3 quintillion kilograms of force. Soul: 9 octillion. Secondary Profession Grand Master, 10 type 17th rank, medium grade, 0.5 quintillion, legendary level. Skill: Weapon Master Triple Tao Principles, 15x bonus, 0.10 sextillion. Laws: 3000 extreme domain with 480 types. Talent: Undying Divine Body Immortal level, combat power increased by 5000%. Emperor's Body Heavenly Tao level, 10 billion times blessing. Void. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. The path of cultivation has only just begun. Dragon Body, Immortal Level Flesh Body 2048 Creation Power Top 17th Rank, possessing 2999 power forms. Cultivation Methods: Will of the Gods Heavenly Tao Level, 17th Rank Fragmented, Power Amplified 50,000 times, Demon God Nirvana 17th Rank Lower Grade, Frenzied Absorption 17th Rank Lower Grade, Law of Heaven and Earth 17th Rank Medium Grade, Power Amplified 1000 times, Creation Divine Canon 18th Rank Lower Grade, Consciousness Fission 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 5000 times, Introduction to Mental Cultivation Manual 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 5000 times, Beginner's Mental Attack Supporting Cultivation Method 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 5000 times, 100 Methods to Forge Mental Attack Devices 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 5000 times, Advanced Array Formation Cultivation 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 5000 times, Material Illusion Array Deceptive Doubt 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 5000 times. Martial Arts, Death Spear Technique 17th Rank Medium Grade, Power Amplified 400 times, World Ending Light 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 300 times, Teleportation 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 200 times, Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 200 times, Demon Chi and Demon Martial Analysis 17th Rank Medium Grade, Power Amplified 400 times, Soul Dance 15th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 300 times, Dark Divine Poem 16th Rank Medium Grade, Power Amplified 400 times, Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence 15th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 400 times, Falling Flowers Early 14th Rank Lower Grade, Power Amplified 300 times, Prajnaparamita Sutra 14th Rank Peak, Power Amplified 500 times. Equipment: Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th Rank Medium Grade, Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th Rank Medium Grade, Angel Wings 17th Rank Lower Grade, Black Star Stone King Unknown, above 17th Rank, Demon Subduing Wave 16th Rank Medium Grade, Soul Summoning Sail 17th Rank Lower Grade, Responding Heaven Spirit 17th Rank Peak, Vajra Bracelet 15th Rank Lower Grade, Natural Intent 16th Rank Upper Grade, Martial Soul Chariot 15th Rank Upper Grade, Buddha Light Pearl 17th Rank Upper Grade, Mental Gold Ingot 16th Rank Peak, Lihua Jade Pure Bottle 15th Rank Upper Grade, Glazed Forest Light Beginning 16th Rank Medium Grade, Jadeite Spirit Gathering Bowl 17th Rank Lower Grade, Floating Light Music Theory Brocade 15th Rank Medium Grade, Lansong Jade Bone Fan 17th Rank Medium Grade, Hibiscus Jade Stone 17th Rank Upper Grade, Jade Butterfly Golden Ancient Seal 853 17th Rank Medium Grade, Hemlock Wood Physical System Cultivation Method, Neat Floss Peak 17th Rank Upper Grade, can rapidly replenish large amounts of power when weak, Echo Ring 17th Rank Upper Grade, can simulate the pressure of cultivators 2 realms higher, Soul Pavilion 17th Rank Upper Grade. Flesh Body Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm, 4th Layer. Ultimate Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm, 4th Layer. During this scan, Ling Xiao's heart suddenly jolted realm breakthrough. He leapt from beyond immortal realm 3rd layer to 4th layer. He was so excited that he could hardly contain himself. Since stepping into the immortal realm, his progress had been blocked by an invisible wall, unable to move forward. Although his spiritual power continued to accumulate, the breakthrough had yet to appear. The reason was simple: the strength required for advancement was too immense and heavy, lacking that crucial opportunity. And now, that opportunity had arrived. The environment here was exceptionally favorable, helping him easily touch the crack in that barrier. Perhaps it wasn't entirely thanks to the cultivation chamber, but it certainly played a key role. Ling Xiao's heart surged with emotion, deeply feeling that this place was no empty reputation. No wonder everyone flocked here. He himself was deeply attracted by this land. Breaking through the realm meant crossing into a whole new level of power. Spiritual power was no longer a simple accumulation but purified and sublimated into a more formidable energy. Every leap in realm was accompanied by the fierce burning of energy within the body. He circulated the power inside him, feeling it burn like flames, dancing wildly through his veins, and the sense of control spread throughout his body. The security and pleasure brought by this great power were the fundamental driving forces of his cultivation. For Ling Xiao, cultivation was not just a tedious process of improving ability but a feast for both body and mind. The joy woven from effort and achievement far surpassed any low-level entertainment. Every breakthrough gave him an unparalleled thrill, a satisfaction that nothing else could provide. He was grateful to have come from his original world to this place, to be reborn once more, to touch this lofty realm again, and become a true strongman. Yes. He was thankful for the system he possessed. Without it, these opportunities would have been impossible to reach at his current realm. Even if he could cultivate to this level, it would have come at a huge cost, never this fast, never this young. He wanted to trample all those who had bullied and belittled him underfoot. To make them recognize him anew, open their eyes wide, and witness the changes in this world. Watching them turn from arrogance to terror, kneeling before him one by one, begging for mercy and forgiveness, a sense of righteous pleasure surged within him. He knew clearly that all of this was granted by cultivation. He hated those who could not enjoy the fruits of cultivation yet complained about its hardships. He never regarded them as true cultivators, destined to achieve nothing. As his realm rose, the people he encountered grew stronger, and his vision expanded from a small world to the vast universe. He had seen too much, and his dreams were within reach. Now, with no rivals, only a powerful world could contend with him, and that world was in his hands. Suddenly, he thought of the spiritual plant in the hotel, sensed it, and found that the seed had already sprouted. His eyes lit up. He hadn't expected the sprouting to be so rapid. He didn't understand the germination cycles of other plants and was somewhat surprised, but also felt perhaps it should be so. This plant seemed ordinary, its tender shoots green and plain, yet it was famously strong. The price was extremely slow growth, requiring over a decade of meticulous care to sprout. It needed 853 units of pure spiritual power to nourish its growth and traditionally only grew in spirit-rich caves and blessed lands, making it extremely difficult to cultivate. Later, people discovered its value and attempted artificial cultivation. Even so, it remained precious and rare. Its growth cycle was long, survival conditions harsh, and few could successfully cultivate it. It required top gardeners and huge funds, continuously immersed in spiritual power to sprout and grow normally. And now, this spiritual plant, though only in a small vase and for just a day or two, has already grown so robust. Behind this lies the support of the world's heavenly Tao consciousness. This was the first time Ling Xiao truly understood this peculiar plant, having had no experience before. If he were not out, he would have hurried to see this precious life. But at this moment, he decided to continue cultivating. The cultivation state was rare, and once entered, he was unwilling to leave easily. Even for him, sometimes restless and impatient, it was hard to find such an excellent state. The strong cultivation atmosphere here provided great assistance. Exploring alone was far less focused than cultivating together with others. The atmosphere naturally immersed one, isolating from external distractions. Because of this, Ling Xiao liked this place even more, becoming somewhat addicted. Moreover, with the hotel's strict security, he was assured no one would harm this spiritual plant. Some might be surprised at how early it sprouted, but they would not think of the world's heavenly Tao consciousness behind it. After all, this secret was known to no one but Ling Xiao. No one had touched it before, or it had already vanished. Without the system, he would have been completely unable to detect any trace of the world's heavenly Tao consciousness, nor unravel secrets unreachable by ordinary people. He might even have been ambushed in a confrontation with the world's heavenly Tao consciousness, defeated by his greatest enemy. But there are no ifs. Ling Xiao still pressed forward resolutely at this moment. Standing here, Ling Xiao had endured countless hardships and dangers, and now he was a strong figure admired by all. His aura was as steady as a mountain, inspiring awe in everyone, so much so that not a single rebellious thought could arise. Everyone was willing to submit to him, hoping to live peacefully under his protection. This was exactly the life Ling Xiao wanted. He disliked endless killing and only sought peace and stability. The only regret was the absence of his sister's company. He clearly remembered the moment he first crossed over, a mix of shock and panic. If not for his sister's constant presence, he might have already collapsed, even doubting his own existence. That sensible and adorable little girl stood by his side every day calling brother, never making unreasonable demands or envying other children's toys. This innocence sparked a strong protective desire in Ling Xiao, as if fate had destined him to guard this little life. After accepting the reality of crossing over, Ling Xiao devoted himself fully to cultivation, clinging desperately to every straw in life, trying hard to make their future better. Since both were fated to suffer, why not depend on each other? But the world was cruel, and the law of the strong devouring the weak was everywhere. Past bullying had given him a pathological obsession with strength. He cultivated every moment, and though he had reached heights difficult for ordinary people to attain, he still dared not stop. The sense of crisis followed him like a shadow, constantly telling himself, if he did not become the strongest, one day he would be ruthlessly struck down and fall into hardship again. He could not imagine what would have happened to his sister if he had not received the system's protection and had not taken this path of genius. Could it be that she had already been taken away by that vile principle? Taking a deep breath, Ling Xiao suppressed the turmoil in his heart and told himself that the past was gone, the future was what mattered. Life must go on, and he had to become stronger so that when everyone saw them, no one would dare provoke or test his limits lightly. He released his divine sense to patrol the surrounding cultivation rooms but found no abnormalities. All doors remained tightly closed. Perhaps the people here were in seclusion, not just ordinary cultivation. After all, if it were just daily training, there would be no need to come to this place. As a wealthy tycoon, Ling Xiao was accustomed to not caring about prices and had long been numb to the high fees here. He believed that the strong should naturally have abundant financial resources, and this small amount of money was just a drop in the bucket for them. However, he overlooked that although these local rich were wealthy, the costs were still considerable in this high-level environment. Only someone like Ling Xiao, with countless riches and a cold, sharp gaze, could stay without hesitation, regardless of the number of days. Since they came here, everyone must have made full preparations, intending to seclude themselves for cultivation. Rarely did people come just to observe like Ling Xiao. Rubbing his temples, Ling Xiao decided not to be disturbed by the outside world and to cultivate at his own pace. He sat down, his mind calm, as the surrounding spiritual energy gathered, forming whirlpools that voraciously devoured the spiritual energy around like black holes. When he was completely immersed in cultivation, his spiritual awareness relaxed, and those whirlpools rapidly expanded, absorbing spiritual power that surged toward him like a flood, even transforming into translucent ripples, with the spiritual energy flowing like water. His cultivation method, even in this environment where spiritual energy is exceptionally dense, still demonstrates extremely strong absorption and explosive power. The fluctuations of spiritual energy were intense, and Ling Xiao's body was almost unable to withstand it. Several people in the nearby training rooms gradually opened their eyes, sensing something unusual, and one after another pushed open the door to come out. As soon as the door opened, they wanted to question the salesperson. After spending so much money, why has the spiritual energy suddenly become so thin? Was there some mistake? Just as they stepped out, they felt the air was abnormal, with spiritual energy frantically converging in one direction. The few exchanged glances and tacitly walked toward Ling Xiao's door. Inside, there was an overwhelming aura of a powerful cultivator. They wanted to knock, but dared not. Being disturbed during cultivation, if not careful, could cause spiritual energy to run wild, resulting in self-injury at best, or affecting the surroundings at worst. Ling Xiao's spiritual energy was so strong that any disturbance could lead to disaster. They were cautious and dared not act rashly, fearing to provoke this unshakable power. Time passed, and the crowd of onlookers kept growing. Ling Xiao's cultivation was grand in momentum, with spiritual energy wildly surging and withdrawing, gradually depleting the nearby spiritual energy, and the affected area expanding. More and more people gathered, yet no one made noise. After all, this was a world that revered the strong, and everyone respected Ling Xiao's strength. Someone like him, wherever he went, could inspire awe and admiration. Even if he delayed their cultivation or beat them half to death, that was the power of a strong cultivator, worthy of respect. Time flew by, and Ling Xiao had been here for many years. Habit became nature, and he even began to waver. If he really had the chance to return to his homeland, would he still want to leave? Human adaptability is astonishing. When he first arrived, he longed to go home. Now he was numb and even nostalgic for this new world. Here, he had a completely different life, a sister as close as a hand and foot, 2 loyal disciples, and dreams almost realized. Those things he never yearned for had long been let go. More and more people gathered outside the door, even the administrators assembled. What they cared about was not how to restore the spiritual energy, but who was cultivating inside this door, able to intimidate all around. With such talent, able to release immense pressure during cultivation and still dare to flaunt it here, he was obviously a newly risen expert. Every strong cultivator here had a resilient mindset, and what they cared about most was whether they could become Ling Xiao's disciple. Ling Xiao was completely unaware of this. Had he known, he would have sneered coldly, "You think only here are people waiting to become disciples? In other universes, there are groups of disciples guarding my door, begging to be accepted. Those people have gained nothing to this day, not even knowing that I have arrived here." Even if told outright, this group before him would not give up. Such is human nature, always seeking trouble for themselves, stubbornly refusing to see reason, chasing dreams destined to remain out of reach. Ling Xiao understood this persistence, but this cultivation session had clearly exceeded expectations, lasting a full day and night. Upon waking, his whole body felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted, his nerves exhilarated beyond measure. Checking his attribute sheet, the numbers had soared dramatically, a rich harvest. His heart was ecstatic, yet he was faintly reluctant to leave this world behind. Every corner of this world suited his tastes perfectly. Life was convenient and comfortable. And so many people understood warmth and human feelings, always on hand to meet every need. Who wouldn't he love such a life? However, the moment he pushed open the door, he was stunned. The front was packed with people, dense and endless as far as the eye could see. The building here was magnificent and spacious, bright and transparent, but outside the door was only a narrow corridor. How could it hold so many? The air was thick with tension and anticipation, as if a storm was about to break out. Those people sent chills down the spine, all peerless experts, whose presence would surely cause a sensation in the outside world. At this moment, they quietly gathered before Ling Xiao, deathly silent, making his scalp tingle. Ling Xiao spoke, "What do you want from me?" The crowd suddenly snapped back to reality, clearly not expecting a young man to open the door. They had assumed a cultivator would be an imposing, weathered, peerless expert. But Ling Xiao's aura was restrained and youthful. If not for the cultivation disturbance just now, they could hardly believe it. Someone hurriedly said, "We are your companions from the cultivation chamber, came to check after sensing something unusual. Hope we didn't disturb you?" Ling Xiao chuckled lightly, "It's nothing." "Anything else?" "Nothing much, just admiration for you," one replied. At that moment, a manager squeezed out from the corner. "Hello, number 857, we have prepared a VIP ultra-luxury suite for you. Please follow me." Ling Xiao was puzzled. Changing rooms was inexplicable. Though he trusted their words were not deceitful, doubts inevitably swirled in his mind. The system suddenly sounded, "Ding. Host, your spiritual power fluctuations during cultivation are intense, attracting the attention of nearby experts who have been waiting for a whole day." Ling Xiao suddenly realized he had once again forgotten to restrain his cultivation fluctuations. Previously, he had caused a stir at the hotel but easily resolved it now. With so many people around, the difficulty had sharply increased. Recalling the incident at the home of the two Beast Tribe brothers, although it was not his fault, it still weighed heavily on his mind. After that event, he resolved to be more cautious, as being alone outside made it easy to be careless. Just as he was about to cooperate with the administrator and leave, others blocked his way one after another. "No need to change rooms, you can cultivate right here. We can pause our cultivation to give you exclusive space." Ling Xiao was surprised to hear this. These people were willing to give up their costly cultivation opportunities just so he could have the space to himself. How could one not call that strange? Just as he was puzzled, those people spoke again. "We only ask to observe your cultivation and learn from your techniques. Please forgive us, senior." The word senior made Ling Xiao's scalp tingle. In his mind, he was just a young man in his 20s or 30s, while these old monsters before him had been tempered by the years. For them to call him senior was truly ironic. Moreover, he never liked teaching in front of others. Even when Ling Daoshi asked him to take disciples, he refused, let alone accept these unrelated people. Fortunately, the administrator intervened in time. He quickly said, "Everyone, it's not that I don't want to help, but I'm afraid it will affect your cultivation. I sincerely apologize and won't disturb you any longer today. Since the administrator has made arrangements, I will take my leave first." Before finishing, he quickly followed the administrator away, fearing being detained. Although those people wanted to keep him, Ling Zhao's overwhelming strength made it impossible. Not wanting to leave a bad impression, they could only watch him leave. However, these immortals were unwilling to accept defeat. Their eyes darted rapidly, as if plotting a new scheme. Soon, someone took out a smart brain communicator and hurriedly contacted outsiders, trying to uncover Ling Zhao's secrets in hopes of becoming his disciple or making friends. But this was beyond Ling Zhao's control. Away from the noise, Ling Xiao asked the administrator, "Where are we going next?" The administrator replied, "Considering your cultivation intensity far exceeds expectations, so we plan to take you to a private room area specially opened for you. No one has used it before, you will be the first honored user." Hearing this, a flicker of excitement flashed in Ling Zhao's eyes. He didn't care about money and casually said, "How much?" "Just deduct it from my card." The other party quickly waved their hand, "No charge. This is specially prepared by the boss for strong cultivators, purely to make friends, not for profit." Ling Xiao chuckled lightly, recalling how he couldn't even get in when he had no money. Now that he had money, people came to befriend him. This world was truly strange, but he didn't care at all. Money and power were already firmly in his hands. Led by the other party, Ling Xiao passed through several corridors and arrived at the exclusive private room. The scene before him shocked him here. The spiritual energy was dense, several times stronger than what he had felt at the collective training grounds before. The training room was not just a room but a luxurious villa, spacious and bright, fully equipped. The administrator said calmly, "If you need anything, just let us know at any time." Ling Xiao nodded, his eyes